All right, welcome to episode 5 of the Black Label Bodybuilding Podcast. Today I am with, it pains me to say, but probably the biggest guy in Summit Fitness, which is Mr. Sam GOODRICH. How are you doing? I didn't say that right, it's GOODRICH, right?
Yeah, it's GOODRICH, yeah, like the tire, yeah. No, it's good. Thank you very much for having me on. Quite weird, it's my first time ever speaking on camera, so I'm only going to apologise for what's going to come out of my mouth, so yeah.
Yeah, no, that's good. I totally desensitized myself to doing this when I was doing band things when I was a teenager. I made loads of
Yeah.
YouTube videos and shit, so to me it doesn't phase me speaking, but I think you should do it more because you chat away in the gym quite easily.
I usually force conversations. Usually the people are just telling, like looking at me, don't speak to me. I'm usually just forcing it down their throats anyway, so this might be a better way of doing it.
I totally get that. First time chatting to you, I was like,
Oh,
how
shut
is
up.
this person so good at talking to someone that he doesn't know? Like, I was quite impressed. It's like I'm the opposite, man. Like, I'm definitely a bit of the tism going on, but like, I just struggle to speak to people, and I think the bigger I get, the less people want to speak to you, and it's
Well,
you've grown that.
I find that I'm the other end of the tism, so I think that's why we got on, because both tisms on the spectrum came together in a
Yeah,
certain way.
yeah,
Like my whole thing is kind of like I'm like I'm going to talk. I'm going to pretend as if I've known you for ages. Let's just get cracking with this. And some people know how to take it, and some people don't. And I'm just like they should deal with it, really.
yeah. No, I think it's a really good way to be. But yeah, so we both got a bunch of questions that are kind of topics to talk about that I think will be cool. But before we do, I will quickly share your Instagram because I think it's a polite thing to do. But also, just I'm kind of keen to hear about your journey into bodybuilding, and let me concentrate on one thing at a time. Right, journey into
Oh,
bodybuilding, and yeah, how you kind of started, how you went from gym guy to competing. Why did you even get in the gym in the first place? Like, take it right the way back. And this is
oh,
Sam's Instagram if people want to follow it.
yeah. So, like a lot of folk ask how long I've been in the gym for. Basically, my dad got me. I was a bad kid when I was younger. So my dad tried to get me into sports, got into rugby very young, but he got me my first weight set ever at 13, I think it was. Remember the old York sets where you had to spin on as fast
Yeah,
as you could and then spin it off as fast as you could. Because I'm a massive gamer, between gaming loading screens, which the youngsters won't remember now how long loading screens used to be,
yeah.
I used to go and do curls and bench. So I got into it big time then. So I played quite high level rugby, got into the national squad. I was in the regional squads, and I played in Edinburgh and in Dumfries, and then got massively injured.
Nah.
Uh, and that put me out. So then I went to the army and then played rugby in the army. I did a lot of sport. It was funny, talking about army days, I was the biggest skive ever in the army. I'd never, ever, ever done any army fizz because I only wanted to go to the gym and lift weights. So all my army pals, they'd always know me as the biff. I just never, I'm like, who wants to run? I'm not going to run. So like my whole army career was like, I just went to the gym. I loved it. Never, social media wasn't big with me and still isn't really. I tried to get onto it, but it's not big. It's kind of like I just love lifting weights. Just that, going in, headphones in, or going in with a pal and just lifting and having fun and a laugh. And that's how I dealt with just how I dealt with life in a good way. I loved it. And then quickly going forward, left the army. Still trained. I trained 5, 6 days a week. Bro split. Had
Yeah,
no idea what I was doing. Never dieted. Nothing. Just always went to the gym and lifted. Left the army. Travelled. Still trained. Still trained. And then lockdown hit. So at this stage, me and a couple of the boys had got some gym kit, and we're training. And I had like an epiphany. I was like, I this could go one of two ways in lockdown. Either I could try and make the most out of a really shitty situation,
yeah,
or I can try and make the best out of it. Like work was, unlike others, work was great. I was earning good money. I was working a lot, and I was like, I might get coached for the first time ever. Met my now coach Darren before lockdown. Followed him. And I only try to follow people on social that I know. Like I try to. Some people I kind of know, but I try to keep it in a way that I know them personally, if you know what I mean. I've had
yeah,
conversations with them. And Darren randomly met in a random gym in Southampton in a wee small area because his wife's from there. And like a year later, when lockdown hit, and I'm like, tell you what, let's see what it's like to go through a dieting phase, to have a coach. At this point, I was thinking about anabolics as well, but I was always on the edge. I was always on the fence, and then I didn't want to do it without anybody guiding me, or I didn't want to do it on my own because I know how much you can run away with me. I can
Yeah.
get really excited really fast, like proper like a wee retarded kid. Like,
Yeah.
so I was just like, tell you what, I'll get a coach, and then me and Darren went through.
Yeah.
He got me on really low dosage. I don't mind talking. It was 2 days of growth and 300 milligrams of test, and
Right.
that was my first cycle, which is I think quite lucky. Like I'm quite lucky
Yeah.
that Darren is a low dose kind of guy. Did a dieting phase, enjoyed it, and I'm like, this is quite fun. And then lockdown was kind of easing up and off, and I was like, Darren, tell you what, let's push this a bit more, give a show a shot, and then just for the sake of it, I've got nothing to lose. So we ended up doing that. I won my first show. I won first timers, one novice. No, one first timers, one beginners, came second and novice, and that was my first two shows.
Right.
So I was quite surprised with how well I done, and I just fell in love. I thought I'd hate it, but just stepping on stage, and it was just something about it. Like it
Yeah.
was just such and when you go out there and you hit that first pose, you're scared, but it's just a buzz. I
Yeah.
tried to explain to folks, like, even though you're in your underwear and a pair of briefs, you don't feel like you are. You got the fake tan on. The fake tan feels like a coating over you. The way I
Yeah.
describe it, with hot lights, and you're hitting the poses, and it's like wow. It feels like the combination of all the training and the dieting has came down to that pivotal moment, and it's quite euphoric in a way.
Oh yeah.
Backstage, like I bet with you as well, the people you competed against first, you still speak to a lot of them.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
And I find
All
that
the
with
time.
everybody. Yeah, whenever I speak to folk, I'm like, if you do a first timers show, those first timers become like your boys because
Yeah.
you all went through the same experience together. You're all scared, you're all nervous, and I think that's a healthy side of bodybuilding.
Yeah.
And I drove that home with myself. I was like, this could be a very lonely, narcissistic place of people. All they care about is themselves. And I like to bring people in. So my bodybuilding experience has been very positive.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Uh,
that's the condensed thing of my story up to where I am now.
yeah. No, I think that's really cool. Is you hear a lot of it's a lot of some of the best bodybuilders that we have are people who came in from a sport and then get injured and then they always like the gym and that's where they came in. So what positions did you play in rugby?
It was weird. I was actually a winger. People
Oh, right.
won't think. So I was one of the biggest wingers. I was one of the biggest players in the backs, and I played wing just because fast.
Yeah.
I still hold the record today. Well, I think I still do. I scored 60 tries in half a season. So
Yeah.
that was for Dumfries South. I think that was the most tries scored in a season. I only played half a season. So I'm quite happy with that. I'm still proud of that one.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I played a tiny bit of rugby at school, but
Yeah.
it was only in high school. My school was not a rugby school at all, but because I was fat, I was a prop, and that's pretty much how it worked out. Like
Yeah.
I had zero skill. I'm really dyspraxic, so I cannot throw and catch a ball to save my life.
Just
It just
straight.
so it was
Pick
just
it up and go.
yeah, exactly. And it was like, right, you're big, so you'll be in the scrum, and that's pretty
I
much how
love
it
that.
worked out.
I love it. But I do find a lot of rugby players, there's a bit more discipline to rugby players compared to other disciplines, like other sports, only because it's not fun getting hurt.
Yeah, yeah, no, it wasn't.
And you
Yeah,
get hurt a lot, and you have to
yeah.
deal with it.
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely. I mean, I had a bit of a different experience just because my school really wasn't a rugby school. So like, it was very light touch rugby, not touch
yeah,
rugby. It was contact rugby. It just wasn't really the immersive rugby experience that like
yeah.
a lot of people go through. So I was quite jealous of that, to be completely honest, because I love the sport, and I'm just an armchair fan. But no,
Well,
I think that's cool. So I think that's obviously quite a big part of your life was joining the army, right? That's quite a big thing for anyone to do. I feel like it always is quite a kind of defining moment. Like anyone who I've spoken to who's been in that it's obviously serious character building for putting it like that.
definitely, yeah.
what kind of led you to that, and then what led you out of it as well?
So the army, so I was on the road to becoming basically a pro rugby player. I
Yeah,
don't, I, I usually I don't try to blow smoke up my ass, but I was fucking good. I was
yeah,
really good. I had a scholarship up in Edinburgh, scoring plenty of tries. I was good. Got a thing called Liz Frank fracture. We were doing it was the trials, end of the trials for the Scotland team again, and two focal on top of my foot, all five metatarsals dislocated and fractured. And I was done. I was kind of like sitting there, like I left school, no quals, nothing to my name, only had rugby, and I was like, what am I going to do? I was always loved the army stuff, loved guns, loved shooting shit. And it was kind of
massive.
like, yeah, it was kind of like, ugh, let's go. And I'm like,
Yeah,
tell you what, let's give it a shot. And to be honest, the army days were good days. Would I go back and do it again? No. Do I regret it? No. I've got a lot of fond memories, a lot of good friends from there as well. But the army does give you a thing of just, which helps you with bodybuilding, of just suck it up at
yeah,
times. It's like boo hoo. It's
yeah,
like a lot of life is kind of like it's like this isn't hard.
yeah,
You may
yeah,
think it's hard, but it's not really hard. It's
yeah,
kind of like, have you really been in a struggle? It's like, have you been 3 or 4 days without sleep? Have you been camping? Like, I slept in an ant's nest for 3 days in the army. What I
yeah,
mean? It's kind of like, it did help and set me up for being like, complaining as a choice, and as a choice that I don't like, because I'm like,
yeah.
this is worse out there. Like,
Yeah, I think
lift
especially
weights.
when with I mean at least with bodybuilding anyway, like it's we're all choosing to do this. Like as much as like there are times where it's like oh this is probably not the easiest thing in the world, but like we're choosing to do it. Like
Mhm.
it's a luxury at the end of the day. Like
Yeah,
none of us need it to like pay a bill or
completely.
anything
The thing,
important. Like
the hardest thing about bodybuilding is you're choosing to starve yourself. I understand that, because
yeah,
having the choice of doing it compared to not having a choice does make it harder, of course. But it's kind of like, just don't lose sight of it's a privilege to be able to diet.
yeah,
People don't realize. Right, I tell a lot of people that, and even clients. I'm like, you really think about your privilege to be able to diet,
yeah. You're still eating
and
5 meals. Like you
it's
cook
not
how
even
you
that.
want it.
The whole thing is, even if you they're dieting 4 weeks time, you can go to the shop and fill up your shopping trolley full of food.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? It's kind of like, in the short space you diet for, at the end of it, there's food. There's
yeah,
water, there's a bed. The whole thing is, at the end of it, it's not like, oh, 12 weeks are up, I have to diet by no choice. And that's what I try and tell people. I'm like, it's an amazing choice. I'm sorry, I didn't realise the washing machine's on. So if there's can you hear that in the background?
no, I can't hear it at all. You're
Oh,
fine.
thank goodness.
Don't
Um,
worry.
yeah. But
Uh,
yeah, so it's now like, the army did help me with that, and I lived in Germany, which was amazing. I think living in a different country is a great thing to do when you're young. But yeah, so the army was a good. I'd play rugby league and union, which was fun.
yeah. All right. Okay. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's cool. You don't hear not that many people do both. That's quite fun.
yeah,
What did you
both
prefer?
completely different sports,
Yeah,
completely different.
massively. What did you prefer playing?
Um, to be honest, I think I, I preferred I preferred watching league and playing union.
There. Yeah.
And only because union's a bit more open to play as my position. I
Yeah.
think if I was, I think if I wasn't scared of getting tackled as much, I prefer to play league. League is a harder sport. Fact, league
Right.
is way
Okay.
harder. The boys, Northern English boys.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, the Northern English boys are hardy folk. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
so
Absolutely.
yeah,
No, that's good. I think. Yeah. There is so much crossover, and as you say, that's it goes hand in hand with the gym, and then until it doesn't, and then you know taking that and going kind of ran
yeah.
with it a bit. Um, no, that's cool. And then hearing about how you went into your first show, I think I didn't realize it was quite as recent as in lockdown that you started kind of really taking it to that seriously.
I
'Cause, I mean, it was
yeah,
lockdown. End of lockdown was when I did my first show. It was 2020. In
yeah,
2020. Now I probably wasn't really ready to compete. Still got third, but um,
still
But
fantastic.
considering how much you've blown up, like, one, it makes me feel really bad about myself. But but I think it's also testament to, obviously, when you went in, you did go all in, because I
Yeah.
wasted I wasted a shitload of time.
But I don't think I don't like using that word wasted. The whole thing is kind of like, all right, and you may not be as productive as you wanted to now, but the example you're setting now, you are where you need to be,
Yeah,
and you've learned what you need to learn to be where you are now. And I think if we think of that with that mindset, it's kind of like you are in a place right now of all those mistakes learned. You can pass on to your clients. I think you needed that. It's kind of
yeah,
like I only count myself starting bodybuilding after my first shows because I wasn't really. I don't. You can't count what I was doing before was lifestyle. I only did a
yeah,
couple months of lifestyle. Like what was it? 4 months of lifestyle with Darren, straight into prep, then straight into shows. Yeah. So my whole thing. Yes, I've only been on anabolics for 4 years. But I think before that, do I wish I got a coach sooner? Yes, but I am where I need to be to give advice, how I need to give advice, if that makes sense. And I think the
yeah,
same with
absolutely.
you.
And I
Massively.
agree. I wouldn't really count myself bodybuilding until after my first show as well.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that I'm trying to tell my clients. I've got two that are on their first prep at the moment. Like, it's understanding that, like, I wouldn't expect them to be absolutely perfect yet, because you need to kind of gone through it, got on stage, and then hopefully have that, like, spark in you ignited where you're like, now I
Definitely.
get it. I need to, and then you go into your off season and suddenly, like, you're maybe not going out drinking as much, or you're not missing meals, and you're not half-assing a training session and that kind of
But
thing.
I think also going into an off season with judges' feedback, bodybuilding is when you go into, like, my thought process is when you go into it with a feedback from a coach or a judge to be like, this needs to be improved for you to improve. That is then you are now building on your weaknesses, kind of thing,
Yeah,
instead of just just doing lad stuff like we all were,
yeah,
just training. But going back to how you were, the change you've made since this last prep is fucking crazy. Like
yeah,
every everybody that meets you is just like wow. And even like I didn't know you before this first, but I only saw you at the end of the prep
yeah.
until wow. And I'm even like this is, and that's how you know when you're switched on with it. So the progression you've made over the past how long? 3 4 months now? Is it
Yeah,
three?
like 3 or 4 months. It feels
Months?
like it's been ages since I competed, but it wasn't. It was April, so
No, it wasn't that long ago at all.
yeah,
And like, but before now, I was working within a classic cap. So
yeah,
only the past 4 months, I've taken the reins off and been like, let's try and get big. So I've been quite lucky that with low use before, like I've been able to respond really, really well,
yeah,
and not
absolutely.
being pushed hard.
I mean, circling back as well into what you're saying with at the end of the getting the judges' feedback. I think that's a valuable thing for people to listen to. I hear a lot of people say, like, you don't take the judges' feedback too seriously and blah blah blah, and I get it to an extent, especially if you're in a big show. But when you're starting out, I think it's interesting. So I know for me, when I got on stage was the first time where I was like you're able to properly critically look at your physique because you're
Yes.
lean, right? And I was like, for me, it was like I knew my chest and quads were really good, but like I had like basically no back. I had very little hamstrings, and my triceps were pretty crap. And I was like, if I can grow these other parts, why can I not grow the
Right.
rest? And I went
Yeah.
back and looked at my training and looked and it from there was able to really progress. And again, when it comes to taking steps forward, it's funny for me, like, I can't really pinpoint on one thing in the last few months and why it's gone so well. It's been like loads of things have kind of changed, but in a positive way. But like from things like, honestly, part of it is not session as much or as hard. That's been a big part of it, right? Before, I remember after my last prep, like there were quite a few weekends I would be going out because I felt like I'd missed out. I felt like I needed to like go to a techno club and then sit in a flat until far too late in the morning. Like it was this, and I was having great fun. And I still was making progress. So in my mind, I was like, this is fine. But now I've stopped doing that. I've been like, okay, the amount of progress, definitely more. But also, I worked with Kuba and he really nailed in form and training with me for a while. And then when I stopped working with him, I took a lot of the bits that worked from that, but then added bits that did, and I feel like that combination of having a bit more choice in myself kind of helped big time as well when it came to the training side of things. It was really fun again, but now I know how to properly move my back and that kind of thing. And I know that's something that we talk about a lot in the gym, is like, it's that balance of going full retard and sending it, with heavy sets, but also something in the same session going, right, okay, but I do know that I need to target this muscle, maybe do time under tension stuff and be a bit more accurate and that kind of thing. How's your training kind of changed over the years?
So my training went from basically thinking I had to go to the gym as much. So before getting even coach, like before that it was like 6 days a week, 1 day off resting, doing like one body part. So it would be like chest, shoulders, chest 1 day, shoulders. I even split up arms. I just go and have fun. Like people, when I was natural, I was still about 108 to 110 kilos. I wasn't fat, but I wasn't lean. I was still quite big.
That is big.
I always went to the gym. I always loved it. But the biggest thing that changed is what you were just speaking about there, is especially what's made me the most progress year by year, is finding that I find accurate training for every single set mind-numbingly boring.
Yeah.
Mind-numbingly. I don't want to be counting 4-second negatives or 4-second positives. I don't want to. I don't want every set. I love lifting heavy shit.
Yeah.
And I found that when I used to lift just heavy shit, I wasn't making progress. And when I went to the totally controlled, I wasn't making as much progress. But when I mixed them together, like we just saying there, you've got the combination of the weight. So like most people, like most reason why people don't have big backs is they don't shift big weight. And that just kind of like success leaves clues, as we say. Guys with the biggest backs shift big weight.
Yeah.
And then you're like, okay, well, I've went full retard. I've just lifted that. Form was a bit meh. Let's pull back. Let's pull back. Let's really get that burden every time. Since I've locked that in more and more and more, I've found that progression has been like weekly.
Yeah.
Like each week I'm getting the stuff, even if sometimes, and what I find is, what I love pushing is so I'll have a block of where I'll push the form to the limit of where it's fucking good. Get there, be like, okay, reset, pull down 40%, start off in a better position than I did say the 8 or 10 weeks earlier, stronger, better form, and just keep on doing that cycle, and it helps me with having more routes to progress, not just, so I've got form to reset on, I've got weight to reset on, so it gives me more progressions and way more enjoyment. Way more enjoyment. Like I would lift the same weight with nobody in the gym and the same people in the gym. I just love getting under a heavy weight and being like, oh my God, what have I done?
Yeah, I completely agree. I like the most fun sets are the ones that it's almost a wee bit scary. Like there's a wee bit of like fear there.
You're like, am I going to prolapse? Am I going to die here? It's like when you get under that squat and you're like, what the fuck was I thinking last week? You know what I mean? It's like, what was I thinking? What was going through my head thinking I get 5 plates of salad? You know what I mean? It's like, oh my, now I have to do it again. And I'm like, that's what I love.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think now, I feel like in this podcast I'm constantly doing a kind of old man, like attacking the young guy thing, but I'm not doing that, I swear. But I do feel like now, like that bit's just been just a wee bit lost. It's been kind of forgotten by a lot of guys getting into, and it's really good that people care about their form, because it wasn't a thing when I started. Like my form was bad in a lot of exercises, right? It was bad, but I didn't know any better. The information wasn't really out there to help it, and kind of everyone was doing pretty questionable form at that time. But like the fun, but also the most progress that I had, like the reason I think I had big quads was like I would squat until I would be at the bottom of the squat bar, and I would hack squat until I'd have to crawl out at the bottom of it.
Exactly.
And like it wasn't 4-second negatives, and it wasn't bombing it either. But like those are the sets that I think absolutely worked. And Yeah,
Definitely, man.
it's funny, we had the same thing, and I'm a very all-in person. So for me, like when I worked with Kuba, part of the reason I wanted to hire him because I wanted someone to teach me how to train the shit that I didn't know how to train. But I did go all in, and that was a lot of pulling the weight like way back so that I could do the kind of tempo that he wanted
Yeah.
to do. And I stuck with it, and I worked them for a year and a half. Still made good progress in that, but like I got to the end, and I was like, I knew that I didn't really like training that way, but I was like, I want to give it a fair shot. I want
It's
to,
good.
I'm not gonna give it a wee try and then ditch it. So I'm gonna go all in. And then I did it for long enough that I was like, right, okay, I need to do something else because
I need to.
this is
It's
not, this is
the whole
not it.
thing. Like, so the way I think about it is this whole form thing. Amazing if you think about the biomechanics. That alone, with understanding how biomechanics work, with how you're meant to press with bench press, your squat pattern,
Yep.
things like that. Even when you go full fucking Mongo and you go heavy, you can still use the movement patterns to the correct way.
Yes.
But it comes down to like, so if you're doing it to learn that, I agree with. But what I find with the majority of people, not just in the gym, will always find the easiest way
Yep.
and make it sound like they're working harder than they are.
Yep.
And then they'll talk about it to make people be like, look at me, I'm working really hard.
Yep.
Instead of just working hard and cracking on with it and let it, it's like letting action speak louder than words. It's kind of like, well, you look shit and you train this way, and this person looks good and doesn't train that way. I'm like, you can blame genetics all you want. That's fine. Genetics is an easy. Oh, look at the ace I pulled. It's
Yeah.
genetics. It's kind of like, well, I could show you several people who had shit genetics and now look fucking amazing. So it's like,
Yeah.
shut your mouth.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
But
I'll happily pull out my before pictures to anyone because if you looked at that, those genetics were not the one. Not that I'm saying I'm amazing now, but if you think that your genetics are holding you back, no, it's that's the last thing.
it's an easy excuse not to work hard. Getting under heavy weight sucks. As
Yep.
we say, I find enjoyment in it, but when I come off like a fucking 7 plate T-bar row, I'm like, what? Like out of breath, felt like my ribs were about to crack through my fucking chest,
Yeah.
my fucking elbows, my fucking shoulders, and I'm like, you know what I mean? I'm like, what was I thinking? Like actually out of breath, being like from that set, and you're like, it's not meant to be easy.
Yeah.
If if you come at me thinking I don't think I'm superior to the people who do the form stuff. That's not what I'm saying. All I'm saying is the harder thing to do is getting under heavy weight at times and trying
Yeah.
to get your form 100%.
Yeah.
And
I'm
if
still
you
controlling
argue,
it. Yeah.
yes, yeah, and if you're trying to argue that against it, I've not heard any good arguments against it. Trying, the stronger we push ourselves, the bigger you get. Look at you,
Yeah.
like bum, like, your strength through the roof, my strength going through the roof.
Yeah.
Everybody that I see gets strong with reps, gets big.
Yeah. Absolutely. And why I kind of I try and articulate to people, but like train to failure again is also it's kind of cool. It's kind of cool. Depends on who you talk to, but like more people are doing it, which is good, right? Younger guys are in there. A lot of them are training to failure, but it's trying to explain that like there's a difference between using the most weight you can, still with good form, but maybe not being over the top and hitting failure, and then you can kind of force failure. Like if you have one plate on the pendulum squat and you're doing a 12-second negative, like yeah, you will hit failure, but I don't believe it's the same as if
My,
you're
my, my
gunning it.
argument would be so if somebody came back with that argument, my only argument would be, so say it's a 6 plate pendulum compared to a 2 plate pendulum. With the 2 plate pendulum, you can get more reps, but with the more reps, also the accruement of lactic acid buildup and
Yep,
fatigue. The upside to the shorter loaders is the monumental amount of micro tears you'll have in your muscle.
yep,
How do we grow? It's kind of like it's like I try to dumb. I don't count myself as intelligent. I'm dumb. What's the dumbest way I can think about this
yep,
so it makes sense? Okay, how do muscles get bigger? They tear, they repair. How do I
yep,
get more tears to get more repairs? Okay, usually it's the accruement of engaging the muscle and putting it under strain. Your body adapts. The human body is the most adaptive thing in the world. For
yep,
example, if you're in space for 6 months, your whole skeletal structure changes.
yep,
Like You know what I mean? It's kind of like you just up there a couple miles, and then your whole skeletal body changes. That's how adaptive the human body is. It adapts
Yeah,
under stress.
yeah. It's just doing. It's just about constantly doing more. And but
Yes.
as you say, I do think the harder the things that you do, the if you're trying to get as jacked as possible, that's how you do it. And as I say, success leaves clues, and you look at these, the majority of the super most muscular guys
Mutants.
on earth, they're all
Mutants.
super strong. They've all lifted a lot of weight for a long amount of time.
Like
You know,
crazy rows, crazy dumbbells, crazy benches.
yeah,
I know they do accessory work. I agree. Yes, they all do
yeah,
accessory, but the majority, even like some of the reps might not be full, but the accruement of the only thing you should be thinking about is how much I need to feel the muscle and break as many muscle fibers as you
yeah,
can
yeah,
and enjoy it. Like
yeah.
the
Enjoying it.
enjoyment. Like I bet folks say you, I couldn't do what you do. I couldn't be on the diet you're on, and I'm like, no, you couldn't because you don't want it.
Yeah,
It's not even a diet for me anymore. Like
yeah,
it's my life. It's like, and not in a sad way. I like going to work with my meal prep. My meal prep's all that's the way I
absolutely.
live my life. Like it's not like
Yeah,
I'm like, oh, like my whole thing is I enjoy it. I enjoy getting my steps in and counting my steps and doing my logging my workouts. I'm like, this is enjoy. I
yeah.
love it.
And
And
I think a really good way I've heard people describe bodybuilding before is if you want to be a good bodybuilder is doing the things you don't want to do like you love them. And I
yes.
think I'm speaking from myself. I wasn't that disciplined when I started. Right? I came from a very undisciplined background. I was trying to be a rock star for a long time. Right, it's the opposite of fucking discipline. Right, and you do you force yourself to do things like you love it long enough, and you can then love it. Like I did
Yes.
not originally want to eat chicken and rice for like if you told me I was going to eat chicken and rice for what like 2 or 3 of my meals for the past 5 years of my life, right? I would have, yeah, fuck no, right? Um, but I love it, and I did it, and I did it long enough, and then I did it long enough that like it feels so weird if I don't do it. Like when I go on holiday or something like that, and
Your body
you're
feels,
thrown off.
yeah.
I'm like, I need to prep something. Like this is strange. It doesn't feel right.
But also, what I usually find with clients is the longer I have clients for, the better they become at preparing their food. So
Yeah,
it comes down to the reason the majority of people go off plan or can't stick to it, don't want to do it, is they just cook chicken and rice very, very badly. And you're
yeah.
like, well, no
Learning to
wonder.
cook is the most underrated part of bodybuilding, by a mile.
Oh, buying a rice cooker, buying an air fryer. When you know you're old when you fucking love those things.
Yeah,
If you
like that's it.
if like everyone's like, I can't cook rice. I'm like, £15 Amazon, get a
Yeah,
rice cooker. I cook 3 days worth of rice, perfect every fucking time.
yeah,
Pour it in, weigh it out. That's me done.
yeah,
Same with the air fryer, and I'm like, what I find like now with I bet you like my chicken and rice food I can eat cold. It's that good.
yeah,
Like I've gone a way of being like I do. If I have to eat it cold, I will. It doesn't bother me at all because I make sure that it's cooked well enough that I can eat it cold.
yeah, exactly. And you get, I'm again, presume you're the same as me, but like, I've spent so long doing it. I know exactly how long to put things in for. I know exactly how much, what seasoning, even what seasoning I'm going to use in my chicken, or like how much water I'm going to put in the rice cooker, and exactly how many minutes it's going to go into the air fryer, the chicken, and all that kind of stuff. Because it's great. Like I
Yes.
genuinely love it, and it's not hard, but you've got to spend some time kind of preparing it,
What?
and
Yeah.
just don't fucking oven bake a load of chicken plain and then boil some rice. It's just not a good time.
Yeah. Yeah. But it comes down to it's like people underestimate how good it is to feel good, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Oh yeah.
Like the majority of people, from my anecdotal data, and we move ourselves, I didn't realize how shit I felt physically and even emotionally too, from eating shit food until I started eating better food, then went back to it.
Oh yeah.
Gut health, huge. How I feel, water retention, like little things that, like just little things like that, just feel like going to the toilet regularly, like in a
Yeah.
healthy way. I'm like, that's big things that I push in myself. I'm like, what? why do you enjoy feeling like shit?
Yes.
Like,
Yeah.
why do you enjoy it? And folks say to me, "Oh, I'm just too lazy to meal prep." I'm like, well, my argument back is you have to work more and work to earn more money to buy more food that fills you up less and makes you feel like shit.
Yeah.
I'm the lazy one because my meal preps cost me the same each week. I do the same things each week. I don't feel like shit, and I work. So I've actually got more money at the end of the month than I used to have
Yeah.
for feeling better, for eating more food. You know what I mean? I'm like, oh no,
Yeah.
this and this. Like,
It is. It takes decisions out of it. Is it not? Is it Zuckerberg who always wears the same outfit because it's less? Oh, who is it? One of those guys. Like they always wear the same outfit because it's one less thing they have to think about every day.
yeah,
Because they've got more important stuff to think about than what outfit they're going to wear, and it's
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 just
kind of the same thing. Like and also something that always gets to me is people are like, how do you eat the same thing every day, right? That kind of thing. Firstly, you can do some variation if you want. Like I'll like mix up my veg, or sometimes put some different
yes.
seasoning on my chicken rice, or different sauce or something like that, right? Wild times, like
Okay.
yeah, but
Paprika, smoke the sweet
yeah,
paprika.
exactly. But like the amount of people who every day they go into their office, they go and buy the same Tesco meal deal, and they'll pick up the
Yes,
same Greggs sausage roll when they're for their breakfast or whatever. Like that is you are on a meal plan. It's just a bit shit. Like
yes, and expensive.
and
Like my whole
expensive,
thing,
yeah,
and
expensive, and it's
expensive.
bad for you, and yeah,
Like
like
I'm looking at something like I go to Costco. I'm quite blessed. I can go to Costco, but I'd recommend any bodybuilder if they could get a Costco card do like a 10 kilo bag of rice has cost me what 10 to 13 quid.
yeah,
Like 10 kilos. That's lasted me a couple of weeks.
yeah,
Chicken is like you know what I mean. It's kind of like don't spend that much money on food compared to what I used to. On
yeah.
like was it how much a meal deal now?
Well,
Three
it's been that
quid?
long. I feel disconnected.
Yeah,
Um,
was it
but
was it
it's, it's
£3
like
meal?
what, 3-4 quid or something like that. Like,
Yeah, 4 or 5 quid, something like that. And I'm
yeah,
like, Starbucks coffee with something like even a Starbucks fucking sandwich is six
yeah,
quid. I'm like,
yeah.
all
Absolutely no chance. No, I'm
all
exactly the
cannot be
same
put
way.
up.
I'll once a week go and get me and Kirsty a nice coffee before we start work. We'll go to Acosta, and like when I'm like, this is fucking robbery. How is anyone doing this every day? But like, I'll do it once a week because it's like a nice
Yeah,
thing. But yeah, people, it's funny because bodybuilding is expensive. Like, it is definitely expensive. Like, once you add supplements, and especially once you add gear on top, like, and then you have to add
yeah,
the supplements because you're taking the gear. It does get expensive, but it
yes.
doesn't have to be crazy expensive. And for most people, if you then
For us,
stop doing all the other shit, it all works its way back out.
like for us, it's expensive now because we want to push this as far as we can.
Yeah,
I know people may think I know I'm not pro level anywhere near right now. But I want to act as if I am there because when you act it, you become it faster. And I know
yeah,
you'll be the same thing as well.
yeah,
I don't think I'm anything special. I think I've got a decent physique. I can't argue. I've won a couple of my classes and blah 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 blah. But it's kind of like for us who want to push the boundaries, it's expensive. But for the majority of people, it's not that expensive
no, it
compared
really,
to compared to a baggie on a night out with beers on a night out with a takeaway on a night out and a
yeah.
taxi home and there
And then you take away the next day because you're hungover. Like,
exactly. A weekend could be 300 quid quite
yeah,
easily on one night. You know what I
yeah,
mean? And like, I know I've spent more on nights
yeah,
out.
yeah, for
Um,
sure.
yeah.
Like, yeah. So actually, kind of going off on a tangent. I'm just interested because we've not talked about it specifically, but when I was looking through your Instagram for just a share a question box, I did realize one, you really don't post much on socials at all, which I think is pretty. It's I find that so strange nowadays. I think it's cool, but like I'm so used to everyone posting everything all the time. It's quite funny, but also you've not done loads of shows. How many? And you were doing classic. Did you start doing classic in your first show?
I, so I started off doing classics. So I'm interested. I'll go into it. So most people don't realize for classic first timers, beginners, and novice in two bros, so the IFBB, there's no weight limit
All
at
right.
all for any class.
Okay.
Because you all go in together. Because there's no height classes and beginners, first timers, and novice. You go up against people show and tell, so there's no weight limit at all.
Okay.
So I went into those shows, and I was quite lucky that I went in, realised that, didn't stress about weight at all. Maybe some of the better condition that I had, I wasn't as much muscled, so I won those ones, and then came second, and then after that was all classic. And how many shows have I done altogether now? Oh, I can't even remember, mate.
I've got your Instagram up, so I'm sure it's got the number, isn't it?
I don't even know if yeah, it's got up in there, yeah.
Yeah, it says you've got 3 first place, 1 second, 1 third. But some of those will be in the same show.
I've come 4th, 5th, and 6th as well.
Right, okay.
So that's how many shows that I've done. So I've done quite a lot condensed because classic, because I was always at my top end of my weight limit. And when I diet, I shrink. And it fucking sucks because right now I'm just over the 6 foot, which means so I'm 184 right now.
Yeah.
Which means I would be in the weight class above. And as soon as I start dieting, bosh, that centimetre comes off so fast, and trying to stretch it off is a nightmare. And every year, me and Darren's been great. He's been the most patient man with me with it, because I bet I've been a fucking nightmare. This year was a bit different. It's mainly because of scales this year, but previous years was just always a nightmare to make weight and height. And I know that I look shit under 100 kilos. And I'm not just saying that. My weight, my muscle have to atrophy. I have to lose that much weight that I lose fullness and size, and I overspill so easily. My hips are a bit too big compared to the other boys. If I come in full and refreshed, everything else pops.
Yeah.
It's usually when I have to pull down for my shows, it looks horrendous. And I'll put my hand up, I don't think. So definitely, so the shows that I've done well in, no weight limit. The shows that I've not done anywhere near as well in, weight limit, and I usually overspill. Darren's been good. We've tried out several different ways, several things. He's been so patient, trying troubleshooting. I just think that I've been a nightmare of a client, because I think when I get on stage, I don't need much food. For classic, for open, it's going to be different. For my last show there, funny, because me and Darren thought we were on point, everything was good. I'd weigh myself up in Edinburgh. I'd be weighing in heavy, but it's because I'd be getting up at 4:30. So we think, okay, so what happened every week? I'd be weighing in about 1.5 kilos, 2 kilos more than I would at weekends. So what we thought was happening was consistent. It's happened every week, like 10 weeks, or no, 12 weeks. The exact same thing. Up in Edinburgh, up early, 1.5 kilos, 2 kilos up, come home, bum, drop off. Feel really good. Be outside photos as well, visuals would look better, be epic. Turns out, my girlfriend's scales were weighing me in wrong.
No.
They were weighing me. Yeah. My weight up in Edinburgh was my correct weight.
Ah, shit, yeah.
Yes, and my weight down here was 2 kilos lighter. No, 2.5 kilos lighter, because I was losing 0.5 kilo because of the sleep. So 2.5 kilos lighter was weighing me in. So me and Darren, and all the way that mate was good. We were feeling really, really good. We were like, no stress. The show after we'll do, but you know what I mean? Had the plan and came in like 2 kilos over. And I was just like, fuck. And luckily, what's his name again? Tom. What's Tom's second name? Evolve Training. Do you know what I'm about?
Like evolution training guy. Tom.
Yeah, evolution. Yeah, Tom. Was Tom? Yeah, so he was there, mate. Because Darren was, of course, in Dubai. He was like, mate, let's just get you in heavies. Blah blah blah. I've got spare trunks there. Blah blah blah. And he made me go from like stress now to chill within like the space of like a minute. Like honestly, like I couldn't recommend him. Just a nice dude. He had no loyalty to me at all. No, he wasn't coached by him. You know what I mean? I'm lucky that Rose accidentally packed my open trunks anyway, just in case I had my stuff on it. So anyway, so me and Darren were just like, fuck it, let's give it a shot. And I said to him, I'm like, well, if I do well, we'll most likely just pull prep and then go open. But if I don't do well, we kind of know that I'm more in the classic. You know what I mean? So we went into the novice bodybuilding. I was backstage. The boys were lovely. I bet they thought I was a bit of a dick because I was shitting myself. Because I was like, I've never been able to get to open boys before. How the fuck? You know what I mean? Everything was going through my head, and I was just like, the stress got me, washed out my legs a little bit. But my body was still good, and I'm like, I'm going to do shit here. It's going to be wank. I was like, fuck's sake, you know what I mean? What am I doing? Pure imposter syndrome. Because I'm like a classic boy going into fucking novice, and these boys were fucking looking good. And then surprisingly won.
Yeah.
Which I was,
Yeah.
it was
Honestly,
like really,
I'm not surprised by that because, like, for me, again, I'm going to speak on an amateur level, definitely not on a pro, but on an amateur, like when I'm majority of the time when I've been backstage and they're the classic guys around, like I think some of them have absolutely amazing physiques to look at, but they do lack some density, and it's partly because you got to make a weight cap, right? Like that's just how it is. But like I see you walking around the gym, and like the amount of like thickness that you have in your upper body, to me, like looks like an open bodybuilder. Like the way that you're carrying it is like it's still a really good shape, and you can see it from your checking photos. I think actually your shape probably looks better because you're getting bigger, and it's like making the weights exactly.
Yeah.
Because like again, I'm kind of going through a similar thing myself, but yeah, I think open is definitely where you'll do really well. Personally, like I think you've got all the just that density there.
boys are sound. Like just like I'm trying to interrupt him, but it's like not even that. It's kind of like I could give up. If I got told I could never bodybuild again tonight, I wouldn't care as long as I go to the gym. Like the whole point is kind of like I have found so much more enjoyment with no restrictions.
Yeah, I bet.
Even though we've not been. Me and Darren, like it's the most I've ever pushed with gear, blah blah blah. I've tried different things, but still not huge amount. But it's the most enjoyment that I've had because I've had no restrictions. It's not been like, oh, you can have a short off season because you're already at the top of your weight cap, blah blah. It's just been like, let's just fucking lift.
Yeah.
Let's have fun. Let's grow. You know what I mean? And I was 118.4 kilos this one of the heaviest I've ever been.
Nice. Yeah.
And it's weird though because I don't feel that weight, and I feel the healthiest I've felt because like Sona's health markers, cardio's been in, steps have been up, food's been on point. Like I could have a takeaway. I could have a takeaway tonight if I wanted to. I don't want to. I just don't.
Yeah, I totally get it.
But I'm not even just saying that to blow to just for the sake of I'm on the podcast with you. Having people in the gym, like you guys around who are just like in the Upside to Summit, which I came into it, there's not really been any cliques.
Yeah.
It's just people come in, if your head's down, it's fine, it's like a wave, hello, or if it's not, and there's boys in, just wanting to lift weights and have a laugh, get in and get out, and it's been such a healthy, nice place to be that I'm not. I hope that people think that I've been a positive influence on them as much as they've been on me, because I see all these younger lads as well coming in and we're talking and we just have a laugh. Like how nice to come to a gym and just have a fucking giggle and then leave.
I've not had it like that, to be honest, in other gyms I've been to. Like I've got on with people in other gyms I've been to. It's not been that like I have always got on, but it is a really good community. I think because I started going to Summit after my last prep before I did. Because I got fed up of travelling through Deflection. Amazing gym, just fuck that drive every day.
My home loved the gym.
Yeah,
along with the travel.
So I was training in Summit, and for ages, to be honest, I was the only. I was definitely the only like bigger bodybuilder. I'm not saying that I definitely wasn't massive at that point, but like it was me, and then there were more fitnessy guys. There were a couple of younger guys that are still going there, but they were definitely. I don't know if they'd trained in the same gym as a bodybuilder before. I just kept myself to myself. In a way, it was quite nice because there were times where I'd go in, especially if it was lunchtime, I'd be the only person there. Which, if you're in that mood, sometimes it's kind of amazing. I had like a private training facility, so to go from that to what it is now, where he's like Murray's grown the gym to like this thriving place. Really good on him. Like he's done a fucking great job getting in the kit and the space. But I think because it's like started and it's a community from scratch. So and also I think everyone that's in Edinburgh that's training there, I think we're all painfully aware of like within Edinburgh itself, we're limited on gyms that have decent kit, big time limited. So everyone's excited to train there because we're like we finally get the kit that we want to get.
And not have to travel,
without having to travel, and I think it's just it's created a really good atmosphere. So free plug to Summit Fitness on the podcast, but
Murray is what he's done is unbelievably impressive for such an expensive place to start a business
Yeah,
with no you know what I mean? Like what like I went there straight after my last prep because I was going to go back to flex, which I love. I'm not bad man. Like, great
yeah,
vibe, great
exactly the same.
community.
Yeah,
Boys there are fucking huge.
yeah,
It was an hour and a half of my day every day,
yeah,
which adds up like an hour and a half. You know what I mean? That's 4.5 hours a
yeah,
week. That's 18 hours a month. That
yeah,
well on a small month, and it's kind of like I went to myself like I was like, let's give Summit when you opened up a new place, and just the boys. I think everyone in there is there for the same reason: to lift weights, get big, and have fun.
yeah,
And because, like you say, it started like start from scratch. Everyone there is kind of like, oh, like I don't see it. I don't hear anybody bad mouthing each other. I only hear people bigging each other up and
yeah,
wanting people to do well. And I'm like, let's run with this because this doesn't happen very often. It really
yeah.
doesn't happen very often.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. I presume you're fine for time, by the way, just because
Mate,
we've got
I've got all day, mate.
right. That's good. That's good. So we did ask some questions for topics, so I thought we can try go into some of them. And it's just really the ones that I got are just a pointer for like a point of conversation.
Yeah,
Um, so first one, I know you've got some as well, so I'll like do one. You can do one. We'll bounce back and forth
yeah,
until we get bored of this shit. If that sounds good
yeah,
to you.
yeah. That's
Uh, but yeah, first one was on high versus low volume training. I know that you're pretty low volume for the most part. But how would you describe your training?
so. I would say it's more of a hybrid style. So I do have some. I think my last training block, I had a lot more lower volume, like 6 to 9 reps, and then 12 to 15 reps, and that was my set. But I think I'd say it's more of a combination of both now, and I find that, and it's actually the way that I like to structure plans is how my plan is now,
Yeah,
and it's kind of like even if say I'm doing my incline Smith machine, even though it's like 8 to 12 reps, I'll always push my first set as heavy as I can
yeah,
and then as many reps as I can. So if say I only get a couple of plates, say I only get 8 reps, and I'll drop the weight. And I kind of work it that way anyway. So I'm trying to mix a high with the low volume because I find that you have to have. I personally think you have to have both.
yeah,
You have to get strong. To get strong, you have to have a slightly lower volume on a certain movement. So like I count incline Smith as a compound.
yeah, yeah.
Like you know what I mean?
I would as well. Yeah,
Yeah, and then you go into like a pec deck as like an isolation. So the whole thing is kind of like you got one which is lower volume and one which is higher volume. I kind of eat. That's the way it's structured in my head. So even on my plan, that's the way I'm thinking stuff. I'm like, I want my first set on each exercise to be as heavy as I fucking can go
yeah,
because I'm fresh. I can give it my all. And then after that, then that gives me time to back off after that as well. It gives me the enjoyment of lifting heavy weights, but also gives
yeah,
me the weight and then so I'd say my volume is a bit higher than usual, especially chest. I've got my chest is lacking on stage and stuff. So I've got chest twice a week, so my volume on chest is high, but my volume on legs is low. But my leg is because my legs, I would say, are okay. They're adequate.
yeah.
They can give a bit here and there. But yeah, so I tell people like, why have one? Why not try and have a little bit of both if you enjoy it? I understand with recovery, if you're really struggling with recovery, choose one. But I'm like, the majority of people could have a bit of both. But
Yeah, absolutely.
no,
I think as long as you're training really fucking hard, you're gonna progress.
intensity,
Yeah,
intensity.
that's
Or
that's the biggest
sorry
factor. Sorry.
that's what you're saying. 100%. That's all
Yeah,
that matters. Sorry,
yeah,
what I said before, I still stick by. But all that matters
yeah,
is intensity,
yeah.
intensity, intensity, intensity.
Absolutely. 'Cause I mean, I was die hard low volume training for the majority of me being into bodybuilding, and then yeah, on my rebound, not post show, whatever you want to call it, Hilly put me on a plan that was based on. So he worked with AJ Sims' Cement Factory, who was Jay Cutler's training partner for a long time when
Right.
Jay Cutler was winning Olympiads. So it was like not as much volume because I saw that and that was fucking retarded amounts of volume, but like it was a much more volume based approach. It was loads of pyramid sets and you just like do sets of like 15 until you get to a heavy enough weight that are like reaching failure at 15.
Yeah.
And like doing like, so I had like my leg workout was like, I think legs was 26 sets in total or something like that, which like was a lot, right? And we basically did it until my body told me to fuck off, and
Yeah.
it definitely taught me though, and that was, I made loads, clearly made some great progress, and it just taught me, one, it doesn't really matter, and there's time and place for both, because like what Holly was talking to me about was the reason he wanted to do high volume was it means that I'm going to have to use less weight because you're a bit fragile post show, because I'm doing all these feeder sets. You're not going to be able to reach the maximum amount of weight. Also doing more output, it means I'm going to get away with eating a bit more food, and you want to, in that post show phase, stay really sensitive and not get fat, especially for me like that. So that's an issue, and it worked a total charm. Like, made loads of progress, and what I found most interesting thing is now I've gone way back, so I'm doing like one set an exercise right now. The amount my strength has increased is ridiculous. Like now, because I'm doing like the feeder sets are more like, lower rep work into the one all out set, and like I've added like a plate aside onto my bench, like onto like incline Smith press. Without realizing, I was huge. Like, where the fuck did this come from? Like, it's great. It feels great, but yeah, the main thing is just train really hard and train heavy. And I think
I think people need. I think the majority of people don't know what failure is. Also,
yeah.
I think you have to. I think everybody needs to commit to a style training and then change up and have different styles, because the majority of people have no idea what failure is.
Yeah.
If I said to you, go to the gym and train to about 2 reps in reserve, but don't push it, you could be like, okay, now you can get under a weight and feel it a little bit. You're like, now you know where failure is. Like, I feel that I'm versed enough to be like, okay, I know where failure is. I know that if I do, like, I'm like, okay, I've got 2 or 3 more reps in here.
Yeah.
I've false reps, I know I've got more, but actual reps clean, I know what I've got. But the majority of people, because they don't train intense, don't know what actual failure is.
Yeah, I think some people think they're training to failure, and I'm going to be honest, I do. You definitely see it a few guys in Summit where, all credit to them, they're giving it a lot of effort and beans and making all the noises, but like the technical term, like the concentric speed, so the way that they're getting the weight back up for their last rep, I'm like, that's way too fast. Or they're like doing their last rep and it's like grinder. But the way it's moving, I'm like, that's you're making this your failure rep. Like, it's your mind is decided that this is going to be the last rep. Your chest has not decided that this is the last rep.
Because I was actually speaking to Taylor Johnson about this when we trained together the other week, and his last rep compared to my last rep looked completely differently.
Right.
Like, completely different. So I can't remember what we were doing in chest press. He's like, you had one more in you. I'm like, bro, I know for a fact.
Yeah.
I've done that because it didn't look like I looked proper. Because his last rep was getting up and bosh, you know what I mean? But it's funny though, because I count us both as very experienced. I just think it's funny how we know what failure is.
Yeah.
So with some people, what I'm saying with the majority of people, I don't think know what failure is. They think they're showing what failure is, but like, I know in my head, I'm like, I know that if I see you do your rep, like, I know, because I know if I go down, I'm only getting up a tenth of the way, and then the rest is you. You know what I mean? But I think you have to train that way to understand what actual failure is. You have to do your time. You have to you have to do your dues.
Well, I think it's a Matt Jansen thing I heard, which I thought was pretty cool, and I've definitely nearly sent it to some clients. But he was like, if you want to find what failure is, go on just a normal, on an electric bike, a bit of cardio kit, in the gym, and start pedaling. And as you get going, just keep putting the resistance up until you get to the highest resistance level, and absolutely go as hard as you possibly can until your legs literally will not move. Like, that's what failure is. That's like a really shortcut of showing someone what failure is, like, because it would, like, until
100%.
That's what failure feels like.
It
So
feels like your muscles are going to rip off your bone,
yeah,
and I feel like your tendons are going to fucking snap. That's, you know what I mean? Failure, like actual mechanical failures, the majority of people don't. But I know where it's been because I've been under that many bars I've had to save myself from,
yes,
like dumbbell. You know what I mean? I'm like, I
yeah,
was fucking close. I shouldn't have went for that
yeah,
one.
yeah, 100%. And yeah, that comes with time. That comes with time. And
Because
another thing that I have a hard time explaining to some guys I work with is I want them to put that level of train to failure into all the sets I want them to train to failure, which
yes,
includes calves, it includes bicep curls, includes a
mate.
tricep extension. Like,
So, so I was going to talk to you, talking about arms. I was going to say it earlier, but you reminded me there. How many people train arms like they do legs? Or how many
yeah,
people train arms like they do back? And I'm like, that's my biggest thing is I'm like, people are like, oh, I've got stubborn arms. I'm like, I'm sorry, you just don't train them hard.
yeah,
So, and I'm all about tech. I look at people with big arms and they're just shifting weight. And I think you have to have both,
yeah,
not the best form and the best form. And like, I
yeah,
like to incorporate two, say I'm doing biceps. I try to, people, oh, you only give me two bicep exercise sizes. I'm like, if you're saying that, you aren't training them hard enough.
yeah, yeah,
Because when I do train biceps, it feels like they're going to rip off my fucking arms.
yeah,
Like,
100%.
pump is that horrendous that after my second exercise, I'm like, what the fuck? You know what I mean? I'm like,
Yeah,
you're walking around, and like my forearms, because of how much my forearms engage as well, like my forearms and biceps cramp up at nighttime nearly every night. I'm like,
yeah,
if you're telling me that you need more arm volume put in, you aren't training them hard enough
yeah,
because you're like, oh, well, I did the extra two exercises. I'm like, you didn't train hard enough. You didn't do all the little cues. You didn't go heavy enough. You only got the pump. You didn't go to fucking. You didn't train with intensity only to get the
yeah.
pump.
Yeah, and that was again like I feel like again my arms were caught up a lot, and part of it was I went from for a long time had the attitude of they're a small muscle group, so they don't need as much weight, kind of thing, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
now it's a bit of both. So like for my biceps, like the best combination I've had for a while is I'll do like a cable curl behind, with the cables behind, so and I'll be pretty controlled in that. It'll be really deep squeeze. I can get like it feels like they're going to tear off kind of pump. But then I'll go and do dumbbell bicep curls, but intentionally getting them to your forehead. So like
Yes.
you're curling them up and then like some. And in
Yeah.
those, the last set I will go pretty heavy to the point that there's definitely a bit of momentum going on. But I'm still feeling the biceps move, but there is a bit of swing and there's a bit of fucking yeah, buddy, let's move the weight. And that
But
combination is just like it just works
God,
so well for me.
But you need to have the full retard and then the controlled. But then
Yeah,
most people don't realize the bicep connects up underneath the front delt. So
yeah.
you
So
need to
getting the
engage
raise.
the delt. Yeah. So the whole thing is like what you're saying there is I'm like, as long if you're bringing up and you have to think about where stuff connects to as well. Like that's why the biomechanics really does help
Yeah.
in. So people think that you doing that is bad form. That's actually good form
Yes.
if you're trying to incorporate the whole bicep, because people only work on the bottom end, not the top end,
Yeah.
and you need to be able to work on both. And it comes down to why why some of the people with the best arms, Arnie's form was horrendous on arms.
Yeah.
Best arms. I understand genetics as well, but best arms. Jay Cutler, unreal arms, horrendous form as well. Some of it. It comes down to like success leaves clues.
Yeah.
Lift heavy,
100%.
and then so you do it the opposite way if I do it, but I'm saying it doesn't matter which way you do it
Yeah. Yeah.
as long as you're doing a bit of both, that's all that matters, because if you enjoy your way more, that's going to get you bigger. If I enjoy
Yeah.
my way more, it's going to get me bigger. So there's no like this is the set pattern, this is what you have to do, but it's kind of like the only thing you have to do is intensity.
Yeah. 100%. Wait. 2 seconds. I'm just going to put my phone into low power mode. I'm going to cut this by 2 seconds.
Yeah.
Starting to the magic of editing. It'll be fine. All right. All right. Cool. Do you want to? I think we covered volume there and went off on a bit of other tangent,
Yeah,
which is good.
yeah, but I
Yeah.
think, I think
Topic.
you have to go off and tangents to be able to explain stuff. And I think
Yeah.
that's what I
100%.
find interesting with podcasts is when people go off on one. I'm like, I like how you're thinking. That's how you understand people's minds.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because we could just say, "Oh yeah, I prefer low volume," and you're like, oh no, I prefer high vol. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, well, next question. You're like,
Yeah, yeah,
but why? I got a couple of questions. Like, so people, so I've one, which I think a lot of people want to know, balancing work and the gym. People, my biggest thing is kind of like, you make time for what you want.
yeah,
I understand there's only 24 hours in a day and a lot of work and family time and blah, blah, blah. But if you, whatever you want, you make time for. And it's a harsh reality of it, or blah, blah, blah. If you want it enough, you'll make time. I know my girlfriend, for example, will be up at 3:30 to do a cardio
yeah,
before work. You know what I mean? Like, she's got 2 kids, blah, 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 blah. Like, got a house to run, a dog, and so on and so forth. 3:30 because she wants it. I'm not saying everybody should be that way. I just don't see. To me, it's not very hard to balance the gym and work because I've made time. I've got myself. How do I explain this better? When you build discipline in the easy times, that's when it becomes easy in the hard times.
yeah,
But you need to keep the discipline in the hard times. So a lot of people will be like, work's really busy and stressful right now. I need to leave the gym. I can't do my food because it's really busy and difficult right now. And I'm like, you haven't built any discipline. You've
yeah,
put stuff in place when times like this, even if a family member's died or this is like, you stick to your plan because you know it's good and everything
yeah,
else becomes easier. But then what I try and tell people is like, I bet you've had clients with you be like, oh, times are a bit hard right now. I've not got as much time to do this. I'm going to have to stop the coaching and that now. And my answer is, respect your decision. I'll be here when you get back.
yeah,
But my recommendation is this is the time you need coach the most.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
This
I
is the
totally
time
agree.
you need there the most is when shit hits the fan. That's when you need somebody because that's when all bad stuff happens. Diet goes off, you get fatter, blah, blah. That's why you've come to me in the first place for coaching.
Yeah,
Because when
yeah,
shit's hit the fan, you've given up.
yeah. And I think you're right in that if you build the habits and discipline when things are easy, then it should be really easy to lift and shift it when it gets stressful. Because, like, again, if you're already used to prepping all your meals the way that you need to around work, you're already used to going into, you have this time set for training, etc., etc.
Yeah.
When things get mental, you just, like, those things can just stay the same. You already know what you're doing. There's no surprises. I find it makes me calmer, to be honest,
You deal
when
with
I'm
stuff
on it.
so much better. So much
Yeah,
better. You blame people less, you fall out with your missus less because food's there, you know what you do, you go in the gym, blah, 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 blah. And it's kind of like, it's usually just a lazy person's way of, it's like, I'm like, how do I balance it and make it a priority?
yeah,
Um, and
and that's the biggest thing. I mean, I've had a couple of conversations with clients recently, and one of the guys is someone who's trying to take it more seriously, right? And he's told me he wants to take it more seriously, and so because of that, I'm holding him to a
higher
higher
standard.
standard, right? And things were just getting missed, like cardio sessions being missed, steps being missed, that kind of thing, and I fully understand that he was in a certain situation where he was rushed on time and he felt stressed about external factors. But I've just been trying to explain to him that it's like, if it's really important to you, you just get it done. And it does mean some days it's a bit of an inconvenience, but
Yes.
you just get it done. And if you don't get it done, like, okay, but you have to
Try not
acknowledge
to.
that it's not as
Right.
important. It's just not
Just
that important.
my whole thing is it's kind of like people think about the short term rather than the long term with the majority of thing. Instead of being like, oh, well, within the next 6 months, I've only really got stress for the next 3 weeks. So I just have to fucking knuckle up and grow up for the next 3 weeks. It's going to suck, but I know after that, it'll be fine. Instead
Yep.
of being like, okay, no, we'll start again in a month when everything's calmed down. You're like,
Yeah.
that's why you're here in the first place. I'm not judging you. You aren't less of a human being. You aren't less worthy. I'm telling you because I think I'm invested in your fitness than you are.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. And the whole thing it comes down to you will make time for stuff you want. If your missus, if you put like I say to a man, if a man came to me and they're out of shape, I say to him, your priority is not on you anymore, it's on your family. And if
Yeah.
you're unfit and unhealthy, that's selfish. Like, you need to protect your family, be able to provide, be healthy, be mentally and physically fit. And
Yeah,
like, if you've got a family, if you've got a wife, you've got kids or whatever, or even a missus, I think you're the man of the relationship. You need to be. You, your responsibility is not on you now. You're
yeah,
providing.
yeah,
If that makes sense. And that's a big push for me, and something that I've learned, especially with that, even though my girlfriend's daughter, my girlfriend's kids aren't mine, I'm still the provider
yeah,
for her, and then for the kids. I'm like, okay, so my responsibility is to stay fit and
yeah,
healthy, sound of mind, not like, but my feelings, or I've had a hard day, so I'm finding it difficult. It's kind of like, I'm like, life, life is, it's not, life is difficult as you want it to be.
yeah. Oh yeah,
And if you want it to be difficult and use it as an excuse, you will. Like me and the missus had the conversation earlier. I don't tell her about how I feel all the time because I feel that I should be able to deal with it myself, and she only gets the
yeah,
positives. If
yeah.
that makes
No,
me,
I completely agree. And that, like, to be honest, me and Kirsty have had similar conversations recently. There's been like stuff going on in the background that's been definitely causing stress, not between us,
yes,
but like around us.
in general,
And
yeah, yeah,
I did get to a point where like it was getting a bit much at one point, and I had to tell her. I was like, not tell actually really tell her how I was feeling to an extent, but I was more like I'm having to be strong for you. I want to be strong for you,
yes,
and I want to make sure that I'm that person that you can, you know, rely on
yes,
and be comfortable with. But part of that is that I can't do that back to you right now because I need to do the being the strong person thing.
yes,
And if I put it
yes,
back on you, that's not fair because
yes.
you know and that doesn't mean that we don't talk about how we feel and that kind of thing. That it's not that,
But
but it's about
but the
being
majority of feelings aren't real. So,
yeah,
it's like the feelings that I'd speak to my missus about is kind of like the only time I'll speak to her is when she needs to know.
yes,
And the majority of the time, as we know, the feelings will change within an hour.
yeah,
You're like, oh my god, I can't believe I was just hungry, I was just tired. And you're like, I didn't need to tell her or have, you know what I
yeah,
mean? My whole thing is, I think I like having my missus rely on me. I love it. I thrive, and I want her to like. I want to be the man of the house. I think
yeah,
every man should be. You know, I want to be that way, not like in a chauvinistic way, in a way to be like I feel needed. I think every
yeah,
man wants to feel
yeah.
needed. So
Yeah, with your, I'm sure you're the same with your missus, but you want to take that pressure off them so that
yes,
they
easy.
can rely on you
Yes.
for stuff, and you're going to get stuff done. And yeah, I completely agree, and I don't think that needs to be some kind of chauvinistic kind of
No.
like
I think people turn that way when they're unhappy.
yeah,
The majority of people I know who have got a more of a typical old school type of man at home are usually happier because I want to provide for my missus. I want her to have the best life ever. I want peace when I come home. I
yeah,
want to come home to a peaceful home where she's not stressed, where the
yeah,
kids are fed. You know what I mean? I want to like, and I'm like, okay, no, that's actually quite a positive thing to be. I'm like, I
yeah,
didn't
and
realize that's how
it
I want to
gives
be.
me happiness doing that.
Yes,
Like I feel,
100%.
yeah, I mean, so
Yes.
it's not putting
Yeah.
you out doing it; it enhances it because yeah, you feel proud of it. Like you want to be that guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Um,
it goes back to the balance in the work in the gyms. I'm like, I think you should speak to your wife, or if you're struggling with the home life, speak to the partner and be like,
yeah,
"This, I need this. Like, if you want me
yeah,
to be happy, us to be happy. This needs to be part of it."
yeah, absolutely. And off the back, I mean, it's an obvious thing to say, but like the amount of time your average person sits doing nothing in a day, like,
I can mental.
is loads. Like,
It's so
and
bad.
like how many people watch how many Netflix series in a day? Like if you can tell me that genuinely from when you wake up to when you go to bed you are like working like a horse and you are just going all out and you're getting 6 hours sleep or less or something like that. Fair play, right? Okay, I fuck knows how you're going to fit it in. But for most people, 99% of people, you can carve out time. You
Yes,
just need to kind of accept that like you want to do like go to the gym or do your cardio or whatever more than sitting in front of the TV or scrolling on your phone or whatever.
I
Yeah,
usually
simple as that.
people choose the easy route out. It's not
Yeah,
easy. it is harder, and the whole
Yeah,
thing is kind of like it's like you the best stuff are the hardest things. That's what it
yeah,
comes down to and stuff. And we aren't superior to anybody else. We've just been honest with ourselves. I'm like,
yeah,
every time I listen to my own excuse, I'm disappointed in myself because I'm
yeah,
like, I knew better than that.
yeah. And
So,
I'd also say like kind of to go along on that kind of wavelength is I think some people maybe need to be honest with themselves and accept that like maybe they don't need to be that into the gym. Like,
yes,
and that might sound a bit defeatist, but like if you're like maybe just stop kidding yourself. Like, I love my favorite philosophical quotes from Yoda, which is do or not do. There is no try. Right? Like, do it or don't do it, but like this kind of half
my
in, half out, like, because you can just stop beating yourself up about it. Like, if you're trying to go to the gym 5 days a week or even 4 days a week, and you don't want to go 4 days a week, just go three or fucking go two if you have to. Like, accept that maybe you're not going to be a super serious mega jack bodybuilder, but like, do you need to be? Do you really want to be? And if you did really want to be, then we probably wouldn't be having this conversation because you'd find a way to go on the fourth day.
it comes down to, so I've got a couple of clients. I've basically given them plans to be. I tell them if you can't make the gym, have your rest day. Like, just have your rest day food. I
Yeah,
was like, the only I require, I want this much, but I've given you this much kind of thing. I'm completely on board with
yeah,
that as well. The only excuses I genuinely accept is I cannot be fucked. I'm
yeah,
like, oh, you're not lying to me,
yeah,
and I physically don't have enough money. I'm
yeah,
like,
yeah,
okay, I'll accept those. I don't have time. I don't accept. I'm like, bullshit. I'm like, we all have enough time when you want to
yeah,
make it. You don't
yeah,
want to make it. That's fine. But it comes down to my whole thing is like, I know we speak like when I'm talking about the whole fitness and making time for the gym. Everybody has enough time to go to the gym at least twice a week. Everybody does. I
yeah,
don't care
yeah.
what you say.
You do.
Everybody does because you got weekends. You
Yeah,
go in the morning, you got night time. Everyone's got 2 fucking days.
yeah.
So the whole
I
thing is,
absolutely do.
yes,
I always do. Sorry, Ken.
yeah, no, but it's like even night shift. You can go before your night shift. You can go
Yeah,
straight after your night shift. There's always a way, and it sounds like I'm putting people down, but I'm not. You can lie to yourself, just not to me. That's all I say. I want
yeah,
just don't lie to me. Lie to yourself. Come up with all the bullshit you fucking want. I'm like, I don't
yeah,
care. I've I've lied to myself that much through my life about stuff to make stuff easier. I know every lie in the book.
yeah,
I
yeah,
know it because I said it to myself.
yeah, yeah.
Tell
No,
it to
I
yourself.
completely.
To me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, it's like for me, like my favorite answers in like check-in forms I'll get from clients is like, I tried I tried to get my cardio in. And I'm like, what
Doesn't
what
make
do you
any
mean you
sense.
tried? Like, just say
You
you
went
didn't. Just say
on the
you
bike,
didn't want
bike
to,
broke.
or
Yeah. Oh, do you get on the bike and the bike broke, or do you drive there and your car
yeah.
broke
I
down?
tried to do
Every
it,
time
but
you went
yeah,
to the gym,
but
yeah. Every
yeah,
time you went to the gym, your code didn't work. You're like, you
yeah.
tried.
I don't understand what that means, but yeah, no, yeah, I think that's. Well, I don't want to start outing clients for fucking
Yeah.
being like.
No. And clients
um,
think it's funny. Clients will think we're bad mouthing, but not. It's just good to
no,
have as examples because every
yeah,
client I have is fucking amazing, and
yeah, and
same with
like,
you as
and
well.
I will say like, there's absolutely definitely 100% been times where I've skipped on things in the past.
Yes.
I mean, I'll be fair. The less I've done it, the more progress I've made. Recently, I've not skipped on a thing. I mean, I've done cardio every single day this year, other than the show days, I think, including when I've been on holiday. Like I've gone away and
Yes.
stuff. I've still done my cardio, and but in the past that wouldn't have happened. So like I've been there, I've done it. I do understand it. I totally
Yes.
get it, but um,
Don't lie to
I
me. Lie
understand
to
it as an
yourself.
excuse.
Lie to yourself. My thing is, like I tell all my clients, lie to yourself all you want. Just don't lie to me because I'm not fucking dumb. You know
Yeah,
what I mean? That's
yeah.
it.
All right, I got another question. Hardest part about prep that isn't really spoken about.
So I think me and you spoke about this. I speak about everybody. The hardest part for prep about me is knowing that I'm upsetting my other half by either being in the bin or not being totally present or
Yeah,
my whole thing is like I love my family, so I'm saying this nicely. I don't give a fuck. I'm like, I can see whenever. That doesn't bother me. Friends, if they're really,
The
it
real
comes
friends are going
down
to
to
be
the
there.
person that I love the most, that I know wants to see me do well, but sees me suffer, and our relationship is put on strain because of a selfish decision that I've made.
Yeah,
That's what I personally find the most
yeah.
difficult
I
people don't
completely
right
agree.
with.
Completely
Uh,
agree. That for the first prep I did with Kirsty was like it really fucking strained the relationship. But the main reason it strained it was like I was so worried about how it would affect her
yeah,
that it was making me stressed out, and then
more and
and kind
more.
of making me.
It's that negative feedback loop,
Yeah,
isn't it? It's like,
exactly.
oh,
And it was just in the making it way worse. And then the last part we did talked a lot about more. We're very, very open about things
yes,
and had literally fucking none of the problems that we had before.
yes.
Um, I completely agree. I think just in general, anything. I think the hardest parts about prep, it's all mental. Like,
All mental.
yes, there definitely are physically hard parts. It does get to a point where like you're sitting on the couch and you're like, am I just going to piss myself rather than walk to the toilet? Maybe, right? I've been there a few
That's
times.
the weather prep. Yeah, sounds. Yeah, yeah.
but, but yeah, the hardest part is definitely mentally. It's definitely um,
It's
keeping control of your emotions is definitely harder on prep because
especially running some drugs which can be put
yeah,
higher. But
yeah,
like so I'm a big component, and so whenever I have clients, I always push post show. I was like, I'm not saying to do food. I was like, be there and present with your other half. Be there and
yeah,
be present. Be there and be present. Because one thing I found is it's an empty victory when you've got nobody to go home to.
yeah,
You have
yeah,
as many medals as you want, as many swords as you want, but if you've got nobody there to share that experience with you when you're home and when the lights are off, the
yeah,
tan's off, you're sitting there, it's a very empty experience. So that's what I say. My thing is kind of like it's hardship on the relationship, and I think more men should be aware of what their girlfriends go through
yeah.
and respect it because it fucking sucks for the girls because they think, do they love me anymore? Are they cheating?
Yeah.
like this.
Most of the time it's they ultimately, your girlfriend or wife or whatever wants you to be a happy, loving life kind of thing. And
I see
yeah,
that.
when you're balls deep in prep and there's a bunch of clen and tren and everything, like you don't give off that energy, so they're going to be worried about you. Like,
No emotions, not at all, only about food. You're dragging your heels. You
yeah,
look ill, like face labia going everywhere because your face is all sucked in.
yeah.
Um,
Well, I
but yeah,
remember this. Like a good example of this was in the first prep I did with Kirsty. She got given tickets. I think she got given them. I don't think she bought them. She got tickets to Ed Sheeran through in Glasgow, right? Not that I'm the biggest Ed Sheeran fan, right? But I'll happily go along. I'm not going to say no, right? It sounds like a good time. I went along and I was really struggling. I was being prepped by Cooper, and it was the first time I'd ever been really lean, like really, really lean.
hurts. It
And
hurts.
it hurt.
Hurts.
Like just
Sit down.
walking, yeah, literally it hurts. Like walking more than like 15 minutes, I was like starting to,
Soles of your feet hurt like fuck. Yeah,
yeah,
sitting
like
in
just
any type of seat hurts.
exactly. Just energy was just not good. And I remember we got there and I was like, oh, definitely more quiet than normal. Um, and when he was playing, I just sat down, like because we were in seating bits, and like most people were kind of getting up and having a dance and that kind of thing. And like I thought it was a good concert, right? I didn't really like. Again, I don't think he's amazing. It's not my kind of thing, but like I had a good time, right? And then afterwards, like there was this. Me and Chris just had this really weird vibe between us, and kind of eventually spoke about it as a these things normally happen. You don't talk about them straight away, but like later on that night, and I didn't realize, but like I really upset her because she thought that I hated it because I must not have smiled the entire time, and
No, it's too much energy to smile. In your head, you're like, I'm having a good time here.
yeah, yeah. Like that was genuinely what was happening. I wasn't getting up and like dancing or whatever. I mean, that's not really exactly my kind of vibe either. But like,
No, I know.
because I
No,
just
that,
sat there, presumably looking fucking miserable, even though in my mind I was having a good time. It caused this massive fucking, like, it was a really big deal. And like, until we had this conversation, we then laughed about it and it's funny. But
That's
like,
so funny.
but that kind of thing probably happens all the time.
Everybody, mate, like with me and Rose, it would be like we're watching TTV and I'm sitting there pure like gone because I'm like I'm usually a smiley, as you can see, person, blah blah blah. On prep, I'm like, it's just too much energy to smile.
Yeah.
She's like, do you not like me anymore? Do you not love me? I'm like, babe, we're having a great time. What the fuck are you on about?
Yeah,
I'm just sitting here chilling. She's like, you're just sitting there and just look angry. I'm like, then you have, but I'm lucky that she's been through a prep now.
Yeah.
And she kind of understands. She's
Yeah.
like, oh, okay, you know what I mean? But it's so hard for the other partner if they've never dieted hard before.
Yeah,
for them
for
to
sure.
be like, or they must, I don't like me, they don't want to spend time with me anymore and stuff like that. So,
right. So that was hardest part about prep.
oh yeah. What I've got a couple up here. What would I say is a good one here? Well, so one that came up quite a few times is gear usage.
Yeah.
Me with gear usage, I kind of touched on it before. I've never, because I've worked within a weight cap, I've never had to push gear high. Now I think I'm pushing the boundaries of where I would call it a bit high. So in the past, I would never run over a gram total. It would always be low dose test and usually a DHC derivative, Masteron and Primo Bowling, because I'm quite sensitive to gyno. But right now, I think we're pushing the most we've ever pushed. So what is it? I think it's 0.8. Well, no, I think I'm on 1150 or 1200 mass a week. We've just added in Primo on Thursday, which is 350 a week. And then test is, I think, it's at 300 a week now. Because I just upped my test slightly. Because I was on higher mass, but I've lowered that down and put my test back up. Because I was having flare-ups. So what's that? I think I'm on, like, was it 1,500, 1,600 total?
Yeah.
Something like that. So that's it. And six I use a growth.
You're doing all your growth before bed, aren't you?
All before, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So, yeah, never experienced growth. Even now, I still feel carpal tunnel in my hand.
Yeah.
But the sleep is fucking ridiculous.
Yeah, I bet.
Massive, amazing. And then first time ever using Lantus as well. I think on 15 I use a Lantus AM as well.
How are you finding the Lantus?
I'm finding that, mate, big difference for food, as like appetite really helping partition the carbohydrates easier.
Yeah.
I have pushed carbs higher before in the past without Lantus, but I think having it definitely, and having it not very high at 15 and no fast acting is quite a nice easy way into it as well, not pushing everything too much too fast. But also doing Proviron, 25 milligrams of Proviron as well, and micrograms and 100 micrograms of T4 as well. I think that's my whole stack, not including all the other natural supplementation as well. But this is definitely the most I've ever pushed. But weirdly, like headspace being good, gym space being good, I feel fucking incredible. And I tell people, never listen to a word I say about steroids because I've only ever had a great time.
Yeah.
I've only ever had a good time because I started off low. Or I started off Darren was great with not pushing stuff, never telling me to do stuff when I didn't want to. It was always me being like, well, do you fancy doing this, or are we going to do more, or something? He's a big believer in it's my choice, like own autonomy with it. But this is the best I felt. Bloods have come back good. Get my bloods done soon. Strength on Masterons through the roof. I fucking love DHC derivatives, man.
Yeah, I mean, mass specifically, if you want to be the study guy, it does have some high. It's basically like known to have benefits specifically to strength, like which I don't think people think about because they think mast and it's like a cutter, right, and like a dry compound and that. But no, I think I love mast. I've had it in my stack for fucking ages. Even on cruise, I'll still normally keep like a little bit in.
I think me and you have spoken about that. I think people, whenever they go down to a cruise or just onto TRT, they pull everything out, including Masteron. And I'm a big believer in having a little bit of mass and a little bit of test because the thing that sucks about TRT is the lack of the loss of strength, the loss of hardness, that nice hard look you get off Masteron, and I think that affects your head too much. And what I personally think, and I know people might argue, is what I would find healthier is like, not just your blood, but your head's being good. So if your head's in a good space, i.e., you got like 100 test and 100 mast, your total androgens will be 200. I agree with that. So a bit higher than TRT, but you'll have that little bit of a harder look. So you'll feel better about yourself. You'll have that strength. So you'll feel better. And the whole thing is kind of like when you balance those two together, you could run the TRT for longer, healthier, and not be like, I can't wait to blast again, which I get like as well. I do understand, but it stops you really just going, fuck it. You know what I mean? Empty the drawer out and be like, just give me everything.
Yeah, exactly. I think the main thing with like your cruise phase is like, as long as you are recovering your health markers, like, and what that might be for different people is gonna look different. Like mine, I've the last few times like done really well, and my test has still been like between 200 and 300, which is not TRT. I'm not pretending that's TRT. I'm not telling anyone that's TRT. That's just a cruise dose. But my bloods have come back like
good.
Literally each time it's like, this is the best blood work I've ever had, and then I'll do it again. I'm like, this is better than the last time I had blood work. Like, but that's everything else is on point. You know, I'm not doing silly
people
things.
Focus on ranges too much, and instead of being like, there's other markers where you can start having your test slightly higher, and your SHBG and your fucking LH, you know, FSH. Those, do they matter? I don't really. I would say they do matter, as they only really matter in testosterone production, or everything else should matter more. Your LDL, your prolactin, your estradiol, like all those other markers are far more important. And if you can run 300 megs a test, I think that's 200 to 300 megs a test. I count as a sports dosage.
Yeah,
very low sports dosage. And I wouldn't count that as high. That's very. I done that when I first went on it. You can get a lot of gains out of it for not as many side effects, really, at all.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. But I'm I'll run through my stack as well, because it's pretty much the opposite of yours. I was going
to say, I was going to. I just finishing off. I try not to run as like EQ. I've run EQ once before. Really enjoyed it. I did really enjoy it, but I'm like to myself, there's the arguments for EQ compared to Masteron. I don't see there's a lot more. There's a lot more side effects to the EQ than you would gain out of the EQ, but I do like it. And then there's like MPPP, and I'm like, all the 90 no's are trying to stay away from. I don't want my head to be affected. People trying to argue trend doesn't affect me. I'm like, you usually tell when you're on it, so it does affect you. And the neurotoxicity is there, which I'm not keen for. You know what I mean? I'm like, I'm doing something unhealthy, but I'd like to not go completely unhealthy.
Yeah. I mean, I know for me, like I don't get that bad sides from trend, really, like mentally.
Mine's just sleep.
Yeah, mine's sleep. But I know for me, like whenever I touch MPP, like I get either depressed or the most anxiety. I just have this constant feeling of something's wrong. It's like my brain is just looking for something to find that's wrong, and I'll just fixate on that. And it really, it's not good. The worst combination I did, it was really fun for a short amount of time because of the progress. But there was a while where I did, I think it was only like 150 MPP and 150 trend. And I had all this like money anxiety and stuff. And like, I didn't have reason to have money anxiety, but I started, like, it was like keeping me up at night. Like I was waking up and just like having breakdowns and stuff. And anyway, wouldn't recommend doing that again.
I tried to push it for folk, and the whole thing is, even with MPP, people always go back to it helps your joints, but then the more I looked into it, there was only one study, and the study was in like 80-year-old people, and there was only a small study of it, and so the argument, they say it could be okay for joints, but I'm like, if that's the only argument for having it, it made me blow up, because I've used MP as well. I put on a bit more, I looked bigger in the t-shirt, but when I had my top off, I looked worse because I was a bit more bloated, if that makes sense.
I mean, I'm pretty convinced the benefits to your joints are because you hold more water.
More
And
estrogen.
yeah,
It might be because of the estrogen conversion
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that's my opinion. And I mean, it's always worth saying these things. Like, I think everyone gets on with different things differently. Like,
Yeah.
I know, like Jordan Peters loves NPP, right? Like, loves it, and he's an
Okay.
absolute freak. So, like, I'm pretty sure at the moment his cycle's no test. It's just
NPP.
just NPP, and I think it's like a gram of NPP in mass or something like that. Anyway,
That's
pretty
that's
mental. I'm sorry. I'm facing the right way, am I? Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that's fine. Sorry, I just got a message there. Right. I think it's interesting talking about mass versus EQ. I'm now leaning more towards EQ,
Yeah, I get that.
but I think
But would you run EQ as a base then, or would you run it alongside test?
no, I'll definitely run it alongside test, because the thing about EQ for some people, not in everyone, but for some people, it basically acts like it will bring your estrogen down. So.
Yeah.
Kind of in the same way that Masteron or Primo would do. Technically, like on a biological level, it's not the exact same pathway, but like effectively for what we care about, it'll bring it down. So you can run more test and then use EQ to bring your estrogen down.
Yeah.
And the thing that I like about EQ is it seems to be pretty effective at doing it. So you can run it at kind of 2-to-1 dose. So you're running X amount of test, you would run half that amount of EQ, and for most, or maybe around there, and it will bring it down to a kind of acceptable level. And whereas with MAST, I'd find it would have to almost be like the opposite, where like for
I was going to say I would do test 1, mass 2 to get the test. Yes.
Yeah. So it's quite different from that perspective, and potentially it has the ability to harm. I think is it renal toxicity? I think in one study, but I've not really seen it in my blood work. So, but then you have with mass, you have potential issues with your cholesterol. Like that's potential.
So Masteron definitely with me definitely is putting my cholesterol off 100%. Definitely. I think they're going to both affect, because the biggest thing with the EQs, which you can't really see, is how the effects on your blood.
Yes.
As we all know. So
you just need to get your red blood cell counted and checked. So, and that is worth doing. I'll go and donate blood at some point on a cruise normally anyway, which will bring that down.
Whoever gets that blood will be so happy. Oh, imagine that. Imagine that. Just as a wee 6-year-old kid just coming in jacked after being given donated blood.
The funniest thing is I don't know how many nurses but like they all go fucking mad for. I've got really vascular forearms and they all fucking love it. But the funniest thing is, and this is hilarious for a bodybuilder, but I've 2 or 3 times when given blood passed out while they've been taking it. And like, I'm not freaking out. I'm completely fine, but just for whatever reason, the lights just go off.
It's because usually it's something. What I got told was it's that pipe that goes out, it drops your blood pressure by quite a bit, just makes you lightheaded. And because we're so big and so muscular, the amount of actual blood go around our body as well, you will notice that difference. That's what I hear.
I think that makes sense. But yeah, it's always an embarrassing experience, but especially because they all come in and they all like get really. I remember one of the times because obviously I was after my first prep, I think, so like veins properly in full,
everywhere, man.
Yeah,
everywhere. Paper cut, scared of going near paper and that.
So they got in a trainee nurse to come in and take bloods from me, because look, it's a good place to start. Right, it's hard to miss. And she was definitely a wee bit stressed, I could tell. I think it was maybe one of her first times taking blood, right? And so she still put the tourniquet on me, right, to make the veins come out even more. So it was like, it was ridiculous, right? And then she missed like 3 times taking them out. And like, I already knew at this point that I didn't do well at getting my bloods taken. And that was one of the times I passed out.
Well, so I get Medi checks to do my bloods. And
Yeah,
instead of paying the money, I usually get my pal who's a doctor to do it.
yeah,
It was like 7:30 in the morning on a Saturday. I can't be bothered asking him, so I just got Rose to fucking do it. The
yeah,
missus, awful with blood, bouks at everything. But my veins were that easy. I was sitting there like that, and she actually managed to get mine first time
yeah,
because it wasn't long after prep as well. The veins were that fucking big.
yeah.
But yeah, it was just funny. She was there bowking. I was sitting there screaming at her just to shove it in because she was sitting there like all gentle and that. It was fucking funny, man.
Yeah, no, it's I'm still not good with blood, but which I just find it funny because you'd think the needles would be all right.
Easy. Oh,
Yeah,
I still don't like him to this day. Like I'm
no,
still,
freak me out.
I usually slim that. I try to stay away from big blues and stuff like
Yeah,
that. I've used a blue needle in fucking ages now as well.
yeah. Well, I've been doing more because of the shot volume. So my cycle at the moment it's changed a wee bit, but I'm currently doing 800 test, 450 to 300 mast, 200 DHB, doing eight.
Injectable or tablet form.
Sorry,
Injectable DHB or tablet DHB.
injectable. I don't know if do you get tablet DHB?
Yeah, you can. Yeah,
Right.
Delphi does tablet form. Yeah.
Yeah. I'll just it's just the injectable form,
Yeah.
which is really good. It's first time running that, and it's been pretty. I'm pretty sold on it. Like, need to see what my blood works like afterwards. So I
Yeah.
know it's a little bit harsher, but the effect on like insulin, how sensitive my body is really really good because that's something that goes on me. And it's just then performance is very like trend, but just it's not a 19 hour, and it is acting
Yeah.
in a different way, but performance and aggression in the gym way up. And then I'm doing two growth before bed, and then on training days I'll do another two pre-gym, and I'm also
Okay.
doing 8. I use a Nova Rapid pre as well,
So
so fast acting insulin.
provider of that.
Oh yeah, also 25 minute per
Yeah.
line. So I'm doing like basically the kitchen sink, right? So I
Yeah.
think I'll fully accept it. But
But
I when I talked to Hilly about my stack, I was like, look, I want, and it's not been that the whole way either. Like it's escalated there.
but
Um,
also but
but I
also
wanted to push. I wanted to push. You know, and I said that.
but you've got 4 empathetic pathways you're going through, and
Yep.
not the highest dosage you've got is test, so that's fine. And your other 3 pathways aren't that high.
No.
So kind of like my argument would be is like if you're just looking at total stuff being used, like okay, you're on quite a bit, but then if you're looking at the microgram, you're like okay, it's not that much. You know what I
No.
mean? So
Yeah,
it's kind of
absolutely.
like so you're hitting. Because the way I describe it to people, I'm like, you've got more pathways to hit more androgen receptors in different ways and also have different types of estrogen
Yes.
to put less of a strain on the body. So
Yeah.
I'm a big believer in more compound at lower dosages, 100%. I'm a believer in that.
Yeah.
Like that's my thought process with stuff.
Yeah,
Like,
I completely agree with that. I think you can go overboard and have
yes.
like, I mean, at one like when that's like when I was doing NPP and Tren, I was also doing and mast and primo and test, and that was quite a lot of injectables. It felt like a lot. I don't know if that's
Yeah.
even that's maybe it's probably similar to what I'm doing now. I think maybe one more, but anyway, but like it's also saying like those doses are obviously they are creeping up, but I've now done enough cycles of lower doses because I haven't always done that high where I've done it, recovered, got the blood work, it's all come back really good. Okay, so I have scope to push a little bit more. Okay, it's come back, it's all looked really good. I've got the scope to push a bit more if I want to. And yeah, I'm in a position now where I knew that I could really, really lock into bodybuilding for a while. So
And you got Hilly.
yeah, and
And
I'm super healthy to do it.
And people don't understand it, but having a good coach in your corner does as well,
Yeah.
and a knowledgeable coach and one that you can learn from. You know what I mean? The whole thing is kind of like being able to have one in your corner to be able to manage it. It's fucking the best thing you could fucking do.
Yeah, exactly. Because when you're in the moment, trying to make the objective decisions is hard, and also having someone else with experience, I think, is good. For me, I know it's actually quite good, and to be honest, probably holding things back is.
As mediators, we are the in-between men of we are in the top 0.1% of people in the gym, but in bodybuilding we aren't there. You know what I
Yes.
mean? Like if you separate, I try to tell people when you separate from everybody to gym goers to what we do to actual pro bodybuilders. Like we're still up there. We're the intermediate of
Yeah.
of pros to non-pros. You know what I mean? Like, and I think our job is to be like, okay, that looks like a lot of body. I need to educate the youngers
Yeah.
that
You really don't need to be doing that.
you are 72 fucking kilos.
Yeah.
You just need tests, bro.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
just
And that's
no scams. Like the amount of little kids that come up to me and I'm like, they're like, I've got. What's your thoughts on Psalms? I'm like, horrendous.
yeah.
Fucking
Yeah.
shit. If
Yeah.
if you want to have less testosterone than a granny, crash your sex drive and end your relationship with your girlfriend. Take Psalms. Take
Yeah.
as many as you fucking want because they're easy.
Yeah.
What about Anavar only cycle? Also retarded.
Yeah. Yeah. I completely agree. Like,
I'm like,
my first ever thing into PEDs was taking. It was technically a pro hormone. So you could buy it like online. It was legal. I was a pro hormone, and yeah, like I got good results at the start, and then it crashed my estrogen really hard, and I got brutally depressed, like unbelievably depressed. And I remember doing afterwards, just being like, right, I like the bit that worked, but like fucking let's not do that again. And then reality was like you just go and you do your first cycle and it was just unbelievably more gains than that. Like it was just way better. It was
but
just
also
way
better for the head. The whole thing is kind of like I am not promoting or telling people to use gear, but I know the majority. When you take gear for the first time, like I did, like I mean, I only took it for the first time 4 years ago, so 27. I was natty. I tried Psalms and blah blah blah, so I wasn't really natty, but I was natty from the actual gear point of view. The amount of people that actually take gear is ridiculous.
Yeah.
But the majority, the amount of people that take it incorrectly is the majority.
Yeah.
So it comes down to it's like a little bit of test. Like that's why I'm lucky at Darren. 300 milligrams of test, unbelievable, best first cycle ever, fantastic, felt great, everything good. You know what I mean? It comes down to you don't need much to start off. Then when in a position like me and you, years into it, being like, okay, we can escalate stuff now, safely. And knowing that it's not going to, we know what affects our head, we know what we need to be doing, we know what we want to modulate. It's kind of like, I understand a gram of Masteron a week is a lot. I'm not going to argue that at all. But I've titrated up 100%. I get bad gyno. I'd be running more tests if I didn't get gyno.
Yeah.
So that's why. So it comes down to we need to be in the position of educating youngers to be like, don't be a fucking mon.
Yeah, it's just to kind of reinforce if people are listening to this. Like, I really don't believe most super big guys are taking close to that. Some will, and some maybe need to, or feel the need to, or want to. Some people might just want to do that, and like if you want to do that, crack on. But like, start with less and work your way up would be my advice.
I know boys who make me look small, who are on not far off what I'm on now.
Yeah.
To put that into perspective, that puts it into perspective for me, because I know that I'll most likely run this for as long as I can healthily.
Yeah.
And then have a pull back and then only go slightly higher than this. I think people do automatically think more is better.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
to a certain point, yes, but then that certain point is only a small space, and then more is not better. More is very dangerous and unhealthy.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I know guys like, and I'm comfortable saying it, I know it. Like, I know there are a lot of guys who are bigger than me who will never have done as much as that I'm doing. And there's a lot to that. Like, I do think genetic response is part of it. We can't control it. I think that's a factor in genetics that some people in bodybuilding don't even think about. Is like how you react to drugs is a part of that.
If you want good genetics, that's the genetics you want.
Yeah.
Not to have nice muscle bellies to react well to gear. I prefer that one. If somebody gave me a choice, I'm like.
Well, yeah, because you can just keep adding muscle tissue until you have good shape, like basically.
Exactly. Like, you know what I mean? Like, fuck, you got people with nice muscle bellies and react really poorly off it. I agree with that. But it's like I wasn't that people put. I like how people are being honest about size cycles, but they aren't also putting up to be like, starting small's good just because it's cheaper as well. Like it's cheaper and easier. Like I'm doing 0.16 mil a day right now. It's a lot. People don't realize it's a lot of oil. It's a lot
Yeah.
of oil.
Yeah, well, I'm doing mine. I do mine Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and it's a lot. It's a lot of oil. Like there's a fucking
I don't even want to say.
like I can't. I mean,
But
it's
two
what
and a half.
it's not. I do two. I think that I do two mil in the main barrel, and then I'll split it into slim pins, and it's not the full 2 mil in each, but yeah, it's like point. It's like 3.5 mil
Yeah,
3 times a week. Like
it's a lot. No,
it's a lot. It's a literal pain in the ass. Although I don't really jab my glutes anymore, but it's
let's
not
talk.
fun.
I think this
Like
will be
I
interesting.
properly don't like doing it.
Let's talk about this. I think this will be an interesting topic. What injection sites?
Yeah,
Your thoughts on what you think is good and what not to go near? Because I like talking about this to people. I really,
yeah.
really enjoy talking about this.
I've changed mine over time, and my current opinion right now is I like splitting mine up into as many sites as I possibly can, but using smaller amounts. So
Yeah,
now I never used to, but now I'll do like because I will literally rotate between side delt, rear delt, lat, quad, bicep, tricep. I don't do glute anymore because things are getting a bit crunchy back there. I think is that it. That's it at the moment. So I don't do my chest because it just
okay.
freaks me out. I'll maybe put L-carnitine or GH or something in there, but I'm not putting oil. But I'll do just about everywhere else. And I feel like with my arms especially when I started doing it, my ability to create mind muscle connection with my triceps, which I really struggled with for a long time, was better because I could feel them.
So my argument, so I love what you're saying. I agree. I don't do glutes for a different reason though. I find that the majority of lower back. So I used to get really bad lower backs, and I pulled it a couple of times doing deadlift.
Yeah,
It was because my upper glutes were too tight. Why
yeah,
are my upper glutes too tight? Because of injection sites.
yeah,
And I'm like, and since I've stopped injecting glutes, no trouble, no back problem. Lower back pumps have been nowhere near what they used to get. You know, loads of little things like androgens and so on and
yeah,
so forth. And it's easier not to inject. Injecting glutes sucks. It's the most pain. It's a pain in the ass. It's a fucking try and turn around or
yeah.
it's such
The
a
bigger you
shit.
get, it's
Effect.
not fun.
It's like if you hit your sciatic nerve, you're fucked. If you get a cyst, you're fucked. Like it's just kind of
Yeah,
like so recently. So I used to, cause I wasn't doing much. IT band was massive. I used to like IT band. They take a lot of oil.
yeah,
But then since then, I'm like, I need to start switching up sites. So I've done my lats properly last week, fantastic, and I did my upper chest the other week.
yeah,
No, this week, and it's been sound. But what I think with folk is kind of like people do argue, oh, where you inject doesn't matter. The androgens get everywhere. I'm like, yeah, but then with me being a dummy, wouldn't the androgens be hitting those muscles first because that's where they're injected into? So it would get the best saturation of androgens in the receptors of the muscles you inject
yeah.
into.
Well,
Like,
there's definitely some bro science there, which I'm not arguing at all. I think potentially, I wouldn't be surprised if one day we get some evidence that shows that.
yeah,
But for me, I'd say that's also bro science is like that you are putting oil in a place that is going to it's not going anywhere anytime soon. Right?
I
It'll slowly break
the
down.
doorbell's just went, mate. One
All right,
second.
no problem.
Sorry, Paul.
Take it down.
So sorry, mate. I thought the door went because Rose was at the door. She's there. But yeah, going back to what we are saying.
But yeah, it's basically SEO. Like it's like you're putting oil in a place that's going to expand it's going to expand the muscle physically over
Yes.
time. And I think I think whether you like it or not, it does provide a cosmetic change. Now, I do think that you can probably go too far on things and like blur detail and
Yes.
that. But yeah, I think it's good to. I think putting it in weaker places has advantages. I think it can make it bigger physically. I think you can connect better with it because you can feel them. You can feel it basically. Your mind to muscle connection is going to be better.
And the new muscles for absorption as well, which aren't as gracefully. I
Yeah,
think there's all those parts to play it massively.
yeah,
My whole thing is I do everywhere that I've injected's got bigger.
Yeah, 100%. I totally agree.
Like I'm like that to me is quite simple. Anywhere I've injected for a prolonged period of time's got bigger and bigger easier
Yeah,
in a nice. You kind of like, oh, okay, then okay, this makes sense. You know what I mean? It's
yeah,
kind of like so now I've started doing my weaker parts. I'm like, well, this if, anecdotally, if it doesn't matter, it doesn't matter. But to me, I'm like, well, it looks like it's working other parts. I'm gonna fucking do it.
yeah. I completely agree. I mean, this year I did my arms, especially my triceps more. I had really shit triceps. My triceps now are not that bad.
Yeah.
That's enough evidence for me that something's
Yeah,
working.
I think people don't put enough credence into anecdotal data. So data
Yeah,
you get from yourself, from clients, from boys in the gym that aren't just like, bro, you know what I mean? It's kind of like actual, like when we're speaking about
yeah.
stuff.
Well, when you're
I'm interested in this. Like I'm paying attention to little things like this.
yeah, I mean, when you'll be the same as you. When we're doing it on the level that we are, with the consistency with that we are, with the effort that we are, you notice anything that changes. You notice a difference of it way more than like it's different if you're fucking eating different meals all the time and you're doing whatever with your training and like things are all over the place. But when you're super locked in, you make a change and you see the effect. I think that just the art of just trying it and seeing what happens, like really trying it and seeing
Yes.
what happens, has totally been lost. It's even like when I was talking about it earlier with like going really in on the training and bring down all the loads and doing all the slow tempo stuff and whatever. Like that was, I tried it properly, and at the end, I made decided how I felt about it, but I properly did it. I just think
Yes.
that, especially with the way that so much data, like, information is given to everyone, and everyone's doing their videos about this is how you do this, and this is why you do this, and this is why you don't do that. Don't do that. Do this instead. And it's like so many people haven't actually done. They haven't actually done the thing that they're saying not to do. And I'm not saying you don't need to apply it to everything, right? Because we all know that, like, take smacking, it's probably not a good idea, right? Like, it doesn't need to apply to everything. But some things, give them
To
a crack.
have a good opinion on something, you have. I think there has to be a little bit of trying it first to have a decent insight into stuff. I
Yeah,
understand the whole smack thing, but when you take if you've tried most drugs and similar effects, you kind of have as like people being like completely against steroids, but then if they go to the doctors and take a horse, say they have to take. An older woman has to take estrogen. I'm like, the whole thing is like, we all have hormone replacement therapies of some type. It's like people having misconstrued on not having any actual foundational knowledge. They just,
yeah. I
like,
mean,
this is bad. You're like,
yeah, steroids are a great example of that. Like the amount of people who will just they will bash it so much, so hard, they're so against it, but just have literally no idea of how it works. They do
We'll
not know.
pop Cocodamol whenever they've got a bad back. We'll
Yeah,
pop diazepam. We'll go to the doctors and take an untested substance, whatever. I don't want to get into anything, but you
yeah,
know what?
yeah,
We'll take stuff that's not really been done anything, and then happily take that. But then something that your body makes,
yeah,
having more of it,
yeah,
like like I'm having more testosterone. My body literally makes it. I don't know what more natural thing I could do except for taking the testosterone out of another man and putting it. You know what I mean? That it's like
yeah,
it's like test. Like, I'm not saying. It just confuses me why people are so scared of something that usually will benefit a lot of people's lives for being able to control it. Like
yeah,
even women having, if their test is low, they have a much unhappier time. Or if the estrogen's low, they have. It's kind of like it baffles me how they've got such a strong opinion on it, yet have no idea how any of it works at all. No insight, not wanting an insight, and you're like,
yeah.
wow,
Well, it's
you
like
are
the
worse.
NATTY crew, who are always the science-based guys. Let's be real here, presumably because they need something to rely on. But um, they always pull out there's a study that shows that guys gain muscle from sitting down and taking tests more than someone who's training a natural, right?
Yeah.
And the study will always get pulled out to basically be like, this guy's on gear, don't listen to what he's got to say about training, he can just sit down and gain more muscle than me, right? I just is not fucking how it works. There might be a study that technically in the data that's what it showed, right? But one, I do not believe that the people who were training cannot have been training that hard. And two, I think the people that gained weight, are they actually measuring actual long-term muscle building, or are they just gaining like weight increase? Because like you'll just hold more water through more estrogen, like more nitrogen retention. So you're gonna gain weight from not doing anything. It doesn't mean that you gain muscle. And like I know, like especially my first like year of assisted lifting, I was not on my training nearly as much as I should have been, and I didn't make that amazing progress with it. Like I still did make good progress, but like I know for a fact I would have made more progress if I'd done things.
When I speak to natties, usually they have a superiority complex because they want to feel superior to people, and what better way to feel superior than to somebody taking drug enhancements? But what I find is when people take lifting more seriously than going on anabolics, they get more gains because they take it more seriously.
Yeah.
When I took the plunge into the light, not the dark side, the light side I call it. I don't like when people call it the dark side. When I was enlightened by anabolics, I followed my diet plan better. I worked harder. That's what I find. Even if you didn't start off that way, usually when you run it for longer periods of time, it turns around into that. Yeah. And what happens, what usually happens, what I find is, because most people don't realize that test is a mood amplifier, so you usually feel better. So these people who have low tests, like the wee natty low test simps, and they're all moody and angry because they aren't making any gains for the past 10 years. And, why like the 1.25 kilo plates are made for natties? They're embarrassing. We don't need them. You know what I mean? It's kind of like
I do.
We don't need them. They're just pointless. They're just like they don't even. They're that small. They don't even hold open doors. Yeah. So because they're so angry about stuff because they've got low test, and when people go on test, they realise what the fuck does it matter? Cheer the fuck up. Yeah. But they forget that they've got no test to be happy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it comes along to, like, I know I'm having a laugh about it, but it comes along to a lot of them want to feel superior to people. When you see all these lads over there having a fucking laugh and all juiced out their nut and big and vascular having a laugh, and you're over there with your hoodie on, like you go on a diet, you look like a fucking pepperami stick, and you're fucking angry at life. You're like, come on, boys.
Well, it's also why these guys they go so far deep in on the science. And I kind of get it, because it's like you need to maximize everything you can because you don't have anabolics there to cover everything, and they can cover things to an extent, right? To an extent, they definitely can, especially if you're pushing doses up. But they go so in on the science that training, it does stop being fun. Like you're trying to it's like when you start talking about isolating specific parts of your legs and like not legs, like lats, and you're gonna just going that deep on the exercise science, it's like that is not going to help you build really more muscle. It's really not going to help you build more muscle.
I agree. The lack of enjoyment there, but they make it a them versus us.
Yes.
Even though we all have banter, they make it a them versus us, because the natty guys that do that make the most progress have a laugh.
Yes.
You know what I mean? They have a laugh. They don't care. They'll say stuff, we banter backwards and forwards, but they don't have a superiority complex there. They're like, oh no, you love the gym, I love the gym. You know what I mean? It's kind of like there's a bit of banter, but you do find that there is a group that are just very, very hateful and judgy because they're too much of pussies to take test.
That's a huge amount of it. It's a huge amount of it is that people are just scared to make it. And if you don't want to make it for your reason, that's completely fine. But I do believe not most, but I'm going to say a fucking lot of them is because they're scared. That's the number one reason.
One of my questions was my first injection experience. I literally had a barrel loaded up with my first test shot for 2 weeks sitting next to my bed, and I shat myself. I had to change the needle 3 times because I kept on poking myself in the leg and then pulling it out and not doing it because I shit myself. So I understand. I'm speaking from experience. I know I was that because I wanted to do it by myself and I was fucking stressed about it. You know what I mean? Yeah. I was doing it. I was sitting there for 2 weeks. I understand. But it comes back down to my answer is name me one person except for Keithy West that's a natural bodybuilder anyone cares about.
Yeah.
And the only reason people care about Keithy is because he's fucking crazy strong.
Yeah.
Fuck me. Even for if he was on gear, he'd still be crazy strong.
Yeah, he's way stronger than me.
Yeah,
he is.
I don't even like to say he's strong for a natty. He's strong because, and if you put a natty thing, you're like, what the fuck? You're like, but nobody gives a fuck about natural bodybuilders at all.
It's true. It's completely true. And also, kind of to go back on the kind of science thing and using, you go in on that because you're natural and you need to maximize all your pathways. Keithy does not give a fuck about the analytics of science, and he's one of the most impressive natural bodybuilders that we've got. Like,
get peeled. He's strong. He has fun.
Yeah, he has fun. That's such an important part.
Like he goes in, he's like, I want to lift this fucking 312. The only time you should put on 2.5 kilos or 1.25 is when you're doing heavy weights like Keithy West. I'll take that fucking 1.25 back. Because he's deadlifting more than I can. Like, he just loves it. Like, that's strong and impressive. I'm like, that's fucking cool.
Yeah, completely.
But when you're doing like a stack of fucking chest press, it's not even the full stack. It's like halfway down. You put a 1.25 on for micro gains. You're like, fucking grow up.
Yeah, completely.
Like, guys, stop using crayons and fucking grow up.
Yeah, for sure. Right. Yeah, no, I was about to say something too specific. I'm not going to call anyone out. But the microplates are. Just chill out with that. Just chill out with that stuff. It's not.
It just comes down to I find the people that are inclusive, natural and enhanced have the best time and the most enjoyable time and the healthiest experience with bodybuilding because they're there because they love lifting weights and having fun. You know what I mean? Yeah. Narcissists on enhanced and natties are the same. They're both narcissists and they're fucking annoying.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's kind of like it's like the time and the place for stuff. And I'm like, usually what I'm finding more and more negative about bodybuilding, which has always been there, is it's there for the social aspect.
Yes.
As we're saying, like I don't post much on social. I try to post a little bit, but the majority of the time I don't give a fuck. I just want to go to the gym and lift weights and have fun. And I understand people who do it, and I'm not putting them down. But with me, and I think with you as well, if you didn't have Instagram there, you train the exact fucking same.
I mean, the first ever gym-related post I ever posted on Instagram was not even a video. It was a photo of a barbell with 200 kilos on it, because it was the first time I deadlifted 200 kilos. Like, people now are like posting a photo of them deadlifting 120, and like we're all in our own journey and stuff. Like, I was in there for fucking years training before I even thought about sharing my journey, because who fucking cares when you're starting out? And that's harsh, but it's kind of true.
It's true, but it's like you're looking for the social gratification over some people want to be special without doing anything to be special.
Yeah,
and that's happened throughout history. Like, I don't want to blame social media. That's happened throughout history. People want to be special without doing anything to be special. Like, really think about that. You're like, people are wanting all this attention and all this fame. Look at me. Like, you know, it's kind of like, settle down.
Yeah.
Like that may come one day, but if you're doing it for the wrong reasons, wrong things will happen. Depression, anxiety will happen, and the thing you'll become. You know what I mean? Like, look at all these influencers who got into it for the wrong reason, and they're all fucking miserable.
Yeah, they all have to do CrossFit. Like,
yeah, they all went to High Rocks now because they can't fucking act it. They got into. Yeah. It's kind of like what I find is when you get into a sport, especially bodybuilding, for this, because you fucking love the process of just lifting weights.
Yeah.
Like, I want to win shows. It doesn't really bother me that fucking much. It kind of does. I will get my bee in my bonnet, but at the end of the day, my worldview doesn't change.
Yeah.
As in, like, I'm like, I want to win, I want to do better, that's fine. But at the end of the day, what matters is that Monday session when all the boys from the gym, when we see folk, that's what, you know, that's... When you have that, that's the healthiness. That's where all the goodness fucking comes from. Yeah. Not when it's like, oh, look at me. Do you know when people put up the do's and don'ts of the gym, and they put this, and they don't do any of the do's, and they do all the, you know, you can always tell themselves, and they're sitting there like speaking into the wee fucking furball, like you know what I mean? They got what you should and shouldn't do. You're like, settle down, man. Fuck.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think that's a healthy way to be. I'm like, show people how you are.
Yeah. Yeah.
If that makes sense. Show people how you train. Show people how you interact with folk. Not being like, this is what you should and shouldn't do.
Yes.
It's like,
Well, I think there's loads of ways of making. I get it. Like some of the
content. I know.
yeah, like some of the content, some of the most viewed content is controversial top content. The best way to be controversial is say things that you don't like, that you don't agree with. Say it's the don't do this, do this. Right? Those videos, like that's all over fitness for loads. Is don't do this, right? And we can all think of examples of people who have done that, right?
Yes.
And like the problem is, like as soon as you say don't do this, you're just opening yourself up to this massive line of fire of people who probably do that and get on fine with it. And sometimes it's obvious, and sometimes like don't. I can't think of anything. Like, don't quarter rep on a squat is probably like, it probably is a good don't do this, right? Probably don't quarter rep on a squat. But there are loads of examples where, people will do that thing, and you're just going to get shown up by someone who's more advanced than you. Maybe there's a reason they do whatever they do. And at the end of the day, it doesn't really fucking matter. Rather than saying don't do this, just say do this. Just be like, when I squat, I go past parallel. I find that targets my quads better. That's all you need to say.
It's just like I think showing people how you are is a more powerful tool.
Yeah.
But I try to shout on folks. I practice what I preach in a certain way. You know what I mean? I practice to be like, I'd much rather bring somebody to the gym or just post a video of me going full retard and having some fun with it than to be like, it's a place that a lot of bad people can come into, like a narcissist, and make it a very unhealthy place. And I think if you force that out of it, you can make it quite a healthy place to fucking be with good-minded people.
Yeah, I agree. I think, and I've kind of been there, and so I've kind of been on a wee journey on social media myself, and I probably posted less than I did at one point, and when I was posting more, it was just a lot of it was just shit. Like at the end of the day, like no one needs to see you doing a straight set on a hamstring curl, like fourth exercise in or whatever. Like it's not that exciting, what's anyone getting out of this? Like show things that are cool, that you want, that are impressive, that are worth posting about. If you're going full retard in a hamstring curl and it's a fucking cool set, and you got someone like spotting you and you're like spitting blood and whatever, post that. That's fucking cool. But
it wasn't me saying it. So what I say is kind of like doing the do's and posting up little bits of information is interesting. Is when people vomit on you constantly with stuff that is meaningless.
Yeah.
It's like, so say you put up your training, say you put up 5 videos of your whole workout, a couple of things, that is good and valuable because you're watching somebody do something. I'd say that's a lot more valuable. But if it's every day, the same stuff, it's creating value and stuff. And I find the majority of people, there's no value in what they're saying. It's just, you know what I mean? It's just for the sake of it. It's not very good, or it's not special, or it's putting other people down. I'm like, oh, come on. I'm like, come on.
Yeah, you can do it without putting other people down, or it's just pure. It's really the same thing that 100 other people have said. And again, that's with me. Like I backed off on a lot of posting because I was like, if I say something, I want it to be me being interested, not just because at the end of the day I've heard someone else talk about it.
A bit more natural about it as well. A bit more natural saying stuff, but it's easy to get lost because people try to sell the social media lie as well. You know what I mean? Like there is potential to make a lot of money. There's a potential to do a lot of this, but the majority of people can't do that. And the whole thing is, where do you hold value? I find it's with the individual interactions you have with humans in person. How you are, how I value myself is how I leave an interaction I've had with somebody in a positive way. That to me builds up a better community around me. If that makes sense, I find that the people around me like me more because I try to focus on that interaction rather than interaction I'm having with people that I don't know, that
Yeah.
I'll never meet, that I'll
Yeah.
never have anything to do with. That I want to see people around me do well, and I hope they want to see me do well. If that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, I think that's a good place to end it because
Yeah,
I need to go and
that's
eat,
the way
to be honest.
Yeah,
But
good food as well, man.
yeah, right. This has been really good. No, thanks for coming on, man. I
Well,
really enjoyed it.
honestly, thank you so much for having me, and it's been really, really good. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Well,
man,
maybe we'll do an in-person one at some time.
that'd be awesome. That
Yeah,
both
definitely.
topless and covered in baby oil.
Yeah, obviously. Wrestling. Right. I'll talk to you soon, man. No,
I'll take
thanks
care, man.
very much.
I take care. Da, da, da.
Right. Cheers.